about $120 million. The bill would include a JPA that would allow for local agencies to borrow that money secured by the state's repayment. The exact terms of that JPA, however, are still being worked out. The League of California Cities, which put the JPA together for the 2003 VLF borrowing, sent a letter saying that the way that the JPA is structured in the legislation, the interest rate caps and other issues, they believe that it will not be possible to go through the state JPA to borrow as it's currently structured. So clearly I think an issue for the CAO to address would be that if the state JPA doesn't work and we're not able to borrow, whether the city could borrow on its own. The risk there obviously is the repayment source is the city revenues, and we're banking on the state rather than the other way around. They are taking the gas tax money as well. Last night at something around 2 in the morning, my information is the mayor's office was able to get into the bill a borrowing rather than a straight take. And how that would work is that they would take the money for 2 years, they would start repaying it in year 3 and repay it over a 10-year period. So that would be $66 million to the city in each of the next 2 years. The question there is whether that sort of repayment obligation from the state would let us borrow against the $66 million. And again, I know that's an issue that the CAO will want to address. Other than that, there clearly are uncertainties. The CRA issue, which I know Cecilia can address, and the HUDA, or the gas tax take, has to be validated. So we're not going to know for sure what's going to happen probably until December. So we're still operating under a great deal of uncertainty. But if the bills come out as we think they will, I think clearly we need to assume from a budgetary standpoint that that money is gone.
Pointing to the impact the state's budget will have on city services across the board, District 6 Council member Tony Cardenas wants to know how much money will be taken from Los Angeles.
What is the impact based on the State Senate bill, the Assembly bill, as we see them today, based on our basic analysis? How much are we being hit with these actions? How much less money is the city of Los Angeles going to have to work with because of their actions?
It would be $186 million in the current fiscal year. I don't, at this point, the property tax borrowing is not for 2 years, I don't believe. So we're looking at another $66 million in gas tax next year.
So those actions, do they basically implicate our ability to continue to fund every department in the city? Is every department in the city potentially could be affected by that magnitude of a taking?
Yes. We cannot afford a $180 million hit if we are not able to borrow in some fashion. Every department in the city would take an enormous hit.
Okay. That's one of the things that I encourage the public to watch today's discussion on the council on this item. As we put this item over till today, thank you, Ms. Hahn, for bringing it forward, is that I want the people of Los Angeles to understand that their legislators, this governor, have now seemed to have taken actions that are directly affecting the city of Los Angeles' ability to continue to keep our library hours the way they're used to them as of last year. Our ability to keep the number of officers employed and pay for their benefits as we did last year. Firefighters, park directors, people who clean our streets, people who rebuild our streets. All of these are all of the various departments that we handle in this city. And one of the things that I want the public to understand is the state of California, the departments that they run like CHP or Caltrans, etc., they do not take care of our streets. They do not police our streets. We have our own police department to police our streets. We have our own crews and supposed to have our own funding until they take it to be able to fix our own streets. So the actions that they seem to have taken and look like it's going to be finalized very, very shortly is that we're going to see the city of Los Angeles, like every other city and county in the state, affected very badly on our ability to continue to give the people of Los Angeles and everybody who lives in California the services that local government local government handles. Not the state departments, not the Department of Motor Vehicles, that's a state department. Not Caltrans, they handle the freeways, those are the roads that they handle, not our street. If you live on Louver Street in Pacoima, you're going to be affected. Your street is going to be affected. If you live on Van Nuys Boulevard in the San Fernando Valley or drive down that street, you're going to feel the difference. I just want people to understand that every single department in the city is not going to be able to remain unaffected by what Sacramento did, by what the legislature and the governor did, and exactly what they're doing today.
The matter will be continued until Tuesday, July 28th, when the state budget should be finalized. You can listen to City Council meetings as well as committee and commission meetings on the telephone by using the City Council phone system. In the downtown area, dial 213-621-CITY. In West LA, dial 310-471-CITY. For the San Pedro area, dial 310-547-CITY. And in the San Fernando Valley, dial 818-904-9450. Just follow the recorded instructions for the meetings you want to hear. Remember, you can watch all Los Angeles City Council meetings live in their entirety on Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Fridays beginning at 10 a.m. On Sundays, you can watch the replay of all the week's meetings, also beginning at 10 a.m. Council Week in Review can be seen Monday through Friday at 9:30 a.m. and 6:30 p.m., and on Sundays at 9:30 a.m. That concludes our program for the week ending July 24th, 2009. On behalf of Jack Popejoy and everyone here at Channel 35, I'm Mike Kaufman. Thank you for watching, and please join us for the next Council Week in Review.
City of Los Angeles. When duty calls, the LAPD responds.
911 emergency. How old is your daughter? She's 4 years old. Her name is Janelle.
I lost my puppy. Can you help me?
We have a critical missing. There is an Amber Alert, so let's look for any information you get. Pass that into the watch commander. Let's be careful out there.
To fight crime and to keep our streets safe.
You're going nuts. This is my daughter.
Push agents at 785-785-211 to security. Thinking Ardmore, the child market. Suspect male, 95 west, concerned about contract towards one victim for property taken. His currency, code 3.
7855 Roger.
Calling 7055 is in quick pursuit of 211 suspects southbound to the house is requesting backup. Any area that can connect with your victims.
7965 was
To protect and to serve.
All units code 4, 11 to Catalina, suspect.
Standing with our community.
Las Vegas Police Department this morning issued an Amber Alert. The suspect is driving a black Honda Civic.
Working as a team.
Hey, what's up?
I think I saw that car that you were looking for. Is yours? Yeah. Let's go.
They take pride in what they do.
910 code 6 on the
And when duty calls, the LAPD responds.
Positive on the vehicle.
Roger. Last time, we have positive on the Amber Alert vehicle. It looks like they found the car.
The LAPD is hiring. Become a part of the team. Visit us at joinlapd.com.
Bulky item pickup? Call 311, the toll-free number for non-emergency services. 311, your one call to City Hall.
LA City View Channel 35. Your city, your channel.
gentlemen, welcome to the City Council meeting for Wednesday, July 29th, 2009. We're here in the John Ferraro Council Chambers, room 340 of City Hall. We meet here every Tuesday, Wednesday, and Friday at 10 a.m. Welcome to the members of the public who are here with us in council chambers, those who are in our remote locations in San Pedro and in Van Nuys, and also to our viewers on Channel 35, which broadcasts us live each council meeting through the city's cable system, and also rebroadcasts in the evening. We're available online as well through live webcasts and archived footage of our past council meetings. Just visit the city's homepage at lacity.org, and you can find a wealth of information about city departments, about our city council meetings, and our agendas. Anybody who'd like to be heard today, just fill out a speaker card, either here or in one of our remote locations, and we'll be sure to put that in the mix. All items receive a public hearing either in committee or here in council. If they've had a hearing in committee already, it requires a reopening by a council member, but an item that has not yet had a public hearing will automatically be triggered by a card from the public for a public hearing. We also have a part of the meeting called general public comment for items that are not on today's agenda, but nevertheless under the jurisdiction of the City of Los Angeles. If you'd like to be heard for that, we usually give 2 minutes per speaker, and there's cards in the back. Just fill that out, and we'll be sure to hear your comments as well. Thank you, everybody, for your patience while we wait a quorum. I want to thank those council members who, pursuant to council rules, are here on time. Council members Cardenas, Hahn, Perry, Wesson, and Zine. That is only 6 members. We need 10 or 2/3 of our 15-member body to constitute a quorum and begin business. We have excuses on the desk for Mr. Rosendahl and Mr. Labange, who are excused for the entire meeting, and Mr. Smith, who's arriving late. That leaves us with the following council members who are now late. Council members Alarcon, Huizar, Koretz, Parks, Reyes. If you will please join us right away so we can begin the meeting, and thank you all for your patience while we await those members. 2. This is our final quorum call for council members Koretz and Reyes and Alarcon. Koretz, Reyes, and Alarcon. If we do not have a quorum in the next couple minutes, we will adjourn for lack of a quorum. It is 10:15 now. Council members Alarcon, Koretz, and Reyes, final quorum call. Clerk, please call the roll.
Alarcon, Cardenas, Hahn, Weezer, Koretz, Labange, Parks, Perry, Reyes, Rosendahl, Smith, Wesson, Zine, Garcetti, 10 members present and a quorum, Mr. President.
First order of business, please.
Approval of the minutes.
All right, Mr. Reyes moves and Mr. Parks seconds. Without objection, that will be approved. Next order of business.
Commendatory resolutions for approval.
All right, Ms. Perry moves and Mr. Wesson seconds without objection. Those will be approved as well. If we can run through the agenda, please.
First items on the agenda are items noticed for public hearing. Item number 1 is a building and safety lien, and the department has advised that matter can be received and filed inasmuch as the lien has been paid.
Okay, there's no objection. We'll receive and file number 1. Next items.
Next items are also building and safety liens, items 2 through 6, and I believe there is a card on item 6.
Okay. On item number 6, let's call that special. Are there any other specials from the council? Items 2 through 7, council members? Nobody wishes to call those special. Let's take up the balance. Please prepare the roll, 2 through 5, and tabulate the vote.
10 ayes.
That is approved. Item 7, please.
Item number 7 is the finding of public convenience and necessity. I believe there's a request to continue this matter to Friday, which is July 31st.
Okay. If there's no objection, we'll continue item 7 until the 31st. Next items, please.
Next items are items for which public hearings have been held. Items 8 through 29. Items 8, 9, and 10 are commissioners or city officials. Do you wish to hold those on the desk?
Yes, please. Let's hold the commissioners on the desk.
And that would leave 11 through 29.
Okay.
Mr. President?
Yes.
On item 24, I'd like to send that back to committee.
24?
No, to E2. I'm sorry, to E2.
Sorry, to item 24, though, right?
Yeah, to
Okay.
E2.
Is there any objection? Okay. If there's no objection, we'll send 24 back to committee. Item 20, special for Mr. Alarcon. Other specials? Mr. Weezer?
18.
18. Any other specials, colleagues? If not...
I'm sorry, Mr. President, do you wish to hold the ords on the desk, 11, 12, and 13? I believe 12 will be
Yes, we are
present.
expecting Mr. Smith after 11, so let's hold those ords on the desk and take up the balance, please. And 10 as well. We have that special?
Oh, and I'm sorry, Mr. President, I'm sorry?
Yeah, we called 10 special,
10,
just to make
yes.
sure. Okay. Let's go ahead and prepare the roll on the balance and tabulate the vote.
11 ayes.
Those are approved. If we can send 29 forthwith, please. Next items.
Next items are items for which public hearings have not been held. Items 30 through 50, 10 votes are required for consideration. And on item 49, there's a request to receive and file that matter.
Okay, an objection to receiving and filing 49? If not, we'll do so.
Mr. Chair,
Do you have, yes,
I'd like to call item 39 special.
39 or 31?
39.
Okay, 39?
Yes.
For Ms. Perry, Mr. Parks? 38? Yeah. And 46 for Mr. Zine. Any other specials? Do we have any cards from the public on these
Yes, Mr. President, there are
items?
cards on 32, 33, 35, excuse me, 32, 33, 38, 39, 40, 46, and 47.
Okay, we'll open and close the other public hearings. And if we can take up the balance, please prepare the roll and tabulate the vote.
11 ayes.
Those are approved. And we held the ords as well, 30 and 31?
Yes.
Okay. If we can go to the next items, please.
Next items are the closed session items, 51 through 56, and there's a request to continue 3 of those. Item 51, a request to continue that to August 5th.
Okay. Is there
And
any objection to
50
continuing that to the 5th, colleagues? Not, go ahead. We'll do
And
that.
52, a request to continue that to the August 12th.
Okay. Without
And-
objection, we'll continue that.
And 53 to August 5th.
Without objection, we'll continue at 53 as well. Mr. Parks?
Yes, I would recommend on 54 is a rejection of a settlement, and also 55 is a routine workers' comp, if they can be
Okay.
approved in
We'll
open
move
session.
those, Mr. City Attorney. Do we need to detail any of those?
On 54, the city attorney's recommendation is to reject, and
Okay.
55, the amount is, and I'll take it away, clerk.
The new money is $231,932.87, and that is a workers' comp, and the case is Kirk Bingham versus City of LA.
Okay. Let's go ahead then. If there's no objection, we'll go ahead and take those 2 up. Item 54, let's take first. Please open the roll, close the roll, and tabulate the vote.
11 ayes.
That rejection is approved. And number 55, we can open the roll, close the roll, and tabulate the vote.
11 ayes.
That is approved. And if we can hold 56 on the desk, next item.
That would take council to the continuation agenda, item number 57.
Okay. We have item number 57. Anybody wishing to call 57 special? We have, I think, that discussion carried over from today. Ms. Hahn, I don't know if, why don't we hold that on the desk for Ms. Hahn for now. That will take us to our general public comment next. And Dr. Clyde Williams is our first speaker. Good morning, sir.
Good morning. My name is Dr. Clyde Williams, El Sereno, Northeast LA. Last night, the City Hall of Glendale performed a service for some of us in Northeast LA. The City Council voted 4-1 to oppose the State Route 710 extension, gap closure, or whatever you want to call it, whether it be by tunnel, by surface, or by viaduct. They did support a low-build alternative using the existing streets and improving the circulation through Alhambra, South Pasadena, and Pasadena. Our council persons still have yet to come out, although there's been references by Caltrans that the mayor and at least one council person has said, basically not in our backyard, push it south of Valley Boulevard. Therefore, it would be nice to have some council representatives at the August meeting of the steering committee, or what we call the steered committee, so that they can see what actually goes on. We would also recommend that the council take up a consideration as to what the existing status is for the State Route 710 corridor, especially through El Sereno, where we have 400 houses at risk. So, only other thing is shame on us, because you just passed item 29. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Williams. Our next speaker is Sky Anderson. After Mr. Anderson will be Zuma Dog. Good morning, sir.
My name is Sky Anderson. I'm a resident of Hollywood. I came to Los Angeles for Hollywood 10 years ago when Hollywood was a dump, an absolute dump. Now it's a thriving, beautiful community. A lot of this has been the work of Mr. Garcetti and Mr. LaBonge. I just read where he was the person who helped put through the money to help pay for the garage under the Highland and Hollywood complex. But there's another problem. It's gotten so popular, it's gotten out of hand. I was by there last night in front of the Kodak Theater and the Chinese Theater, and wall-to-wall people on the sidewalk. You could hardly walk. And now they want to put a circus act in there. I don't think that's a good idea. I think it's dangerous. I don't think an ambulance could get through to help somebody. I don't think a fire department can get through. You're so successful, you should say, crime. We're successful at revitalizing Hollywood. Let's back off and let the community do what it needs to do. You're very good at it. Secondly, the mayor. I've been critical of the mayor, but as far as I'm concerned, the mayor is a success. He has dreams and he acts on them. He thinks we should have a good school system. He fought them. He lost, but he fought them. The bus system, he was chairman of the MTA, and the bus system is 200% better than it was before he was chairman. He took on the gangs. He got the city councilors' persuasion to give their money to help fight the gangs, and I haven't seen a young person being killed, an article about a innocent young person being killed by a gang member in the newspaper for months. And Mr. Schwarzenegger is ego. All he wants to do is get a name in the paper. He lifted weights for years so he could be this big shot. He doesn't care about people. A friend of mine has Alzheimer's disease. Does Mr. Schwarzenegger care that he's going to be alone in a room and mentally ill, can't take care of himself? No. The man's a danger to society. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Anderson. Zuma Dog is our next speaker, and then John Walsh is next.
Yes, thank you. Much to Greg Smith's dismay, I'd like to announce that I'll be blogging about today's events on my blog, LA Daily Blog, which I'm allowed to talk about. City Council just passed a new Code of Conduct, Rules of Decorum. So I'm here to tell you people, we have some very scary things happening in the city. Now, what can happen is if Eric Garcetti or whoever the council president is, if they go, up, Zuma Dog, you're a little too loud, you're banned for 30 meetings. Not 30 days, 30 meetings. Now, here's the thing. Sometimes my voice might get I might start talking loud under passion, but I do not think it's ever been anything in violation of a law that could require a 30-meeting ban. Also now, one time I said the word losers, and for that I was banned for 2 meetings. Now, without warning, council could say, you are gone for 30 meetings. Very scary. And also, I'd like to address the fact that the city council, there's something called the Brown Act. And when you're watching at home on Friday, you might have seen Eric Garcetti interrupt me when I was speaking to say, please watch your language. And I said, well, gee, I didn't cuss. I didn't say anything. He's like, I'm just warning you. You're not allowed to just interrupt and give preemptive warnings for no reason if you have something at the beginning or at the end. But I'm here to tell the people watching, every time that these city council presidents interrupt these public comment speakers, it is illegal under state law. And okay, now we are going to move on. And I also would like to pledge that I'm going to do my best. I'm not going to sit here and try to degrade and call them dumb and stupid. And, I'm going to I can understand where that would be annoying and they have to deal with me every day. So I want to make a pledge. I'm going to remove that from my act. However, you make it tough when you're going to give $30 million of HUD money to Cirque du Soleil. It's very wrong. It should be for housing and for urban development, of which Hollywood and Highland doesn't need. We'll be speaking much more on this. Thank you so much, and please say no to that incredibly bad idea, and I didn't say dumb. Thank you.
Thank you very much. John Walsh is our next speaker. After that is Michael Hunt. Good morning.
John Walsh at HollywoodHighlands.org. There's a new post up there from last night. Take a look at it. We break news. The criminal investigation of the mayor's 2 pension board members, Broidy and Harrigan, has been taken over from the New York Attorney General by Mr. Holder of the Justice Department. People in this building are being questioned, and the net around the mayor is tightening. Now, on our blog, we offer a $1,000 reward for information leading to the arrest and the conviction of the mayor of the city of Los Angeles on Pension Gate. Please give us some more money. We got to get up to $10,000 or $15,000. We will have a contest too. We will have a open comment board in a few weeks. The contest is simple. You must guess the exact day and date the mayor of the city of Los Angeles resigns because of criminal investigation. HollywoodHighlands.org. Bill Rosenthal, why isn't he here? Go to HollywoodHighlands.org and find out the real reason. You want to know the worst LA Times reporter for July? Go to HollywoodHighlands.org for the real reason. You want to know the best investigative reporters in LA? I'll tell you right now, the San Francisco Chronicle. Go to the LA HollywoodHighlands.org. And remember, everybody in this building, this is a whistleblower alert. Do not talk to the LA Times. The LA Times reporter that you talk to and give information may be working for your boss tomorrow. Steve Hyman used to sit over there. Now he's working for Richard Alacone, and he is giving him information about whistleblowers. Our whistleblower alert is for the entire United States. Do not speak to any LA Times reporter. Speak to the other reporters. But I'm telling you right now, it is a snake pit at the LA Times. It's like the Titanic, and it's going down for the third time. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Walsh.
Hollywood Highlands.
Michael Hunt is our next speaker. After that is Arnold Sachs.
All right, cameras, you can be on now because I got the verdict in Brandenburg versus the city of Ohio, saying general census that the KKK outfit without more does not justify punishment or censorship. That is a Supreme Court law which is going to be filtered throughout this chamber, saying that I do have the right to wear that outfit and that it was upheld in the Supreme Court. And like I said, it would be Brandenburg versus the city of Ohio, 1969 case law. I think I'm going to be filing an injunction in 2 weeks against the decorum rules so that I can come in here and have my First Amendment rights. I think you guys better take it very serious because that injunction will stop you guys at any moment. So to protest peacefully and to assemble peacefully is my right as a citizen, and I do got the case law now, and we are ready to move forward as soon as 54 or Wednesday's 54 was passed. I will be circulating a copy to everybody in here so that they will understand. The whole thing was just to get paid from a lawsuit that I previously won, but now it's actually turned over to 2 lawsuits for the city. I think the city should just give me an ATM machine and just put it in my house and say, here you go. With that, I'll take any interviews and I will produce my case law proving that what I was doing was protected and it is safe, and I didn't do it in any behavior, manner, way that was a threat to anybody, or my behavior was. So with that, this is the real Michael Hunt. I'm the one that was wearing the KKK outfit, and in protest of the city owes me money. Thank you.
Thank you. Just for the record, I wanted to restate and that we do agree that I certainly have said that on the record, and I will say again that your First Amendment does protect your right to wear an abhorrent outfit like the Ku Klux Klan outfit that you wore here, that we lost quorum. That was why the meeting ended. Nobody has taken that censorship right away. When you wear the hood of it, it blocks some people's views, so we do ask you to remove the hood of that. And if there is a disruption to the meeting, then we have the subjective ability to then say there has been a disruption, but there has never been any action taken by me or anybody else to prevent you from wearing that outfit, as abhorrent as it is to me personally and to others in this room. Our next speaker is Arnold Sachs.
Thank you. Good morning. I'm sorry that Councilman LeBons is not here. A few months ago, he was at a library opening, a bookstore opening, and they wrote about him in the, I believe it was the LA Weekly, and I got him to autograph his picture, and on it he wrote, "Read, read, read." So it just so happens on Monday, I was in a local library, public library, and I was reading. And based on yesterday's conversations regarding the budget, I thought that it was very apropos that I bring to the workers of LA, the city workers, an article they may be interested in that I got. It's in Cosmopolitan from the April 2009 issue. It states, how to save your ass at work. Very important reading for today's workers in LA. Then also, in the newspaper, there was a listing in the obituaries regarding the passing of Louis Noel, who was a previous city councilman, who was done in by, guess what? Billboards, companies that were lobbying for a defeat of a billboard ordinance back in 1972. So that got me thinking about an article that I saw in this month's Cosmopolitan, August 2009. Katy Perry, how she grabbed Hollywood by the balls. And I figured, if billboard companies can still be fighting city council for almost 40 years, then they must certainly have the city by the balls. And finally...
And so, just one note on that. We've stated in here many times, there's racist speech and other speech, we'll give you your time at the end back, is protected under the First Amendment. Speech of a sexual nature is not necessarily, so I would please ask you to refrain from, there are children that are in here, there are other folks, but please have the decency, and it is not necessarily protected under the First Amendment to say things of a sexual nature. So that is of a sexual nature, sir.
Sir, I appreciate your commentary. If I was making the comments without referring to the articles in the newspaper, in this story, and I'll submit them for the record, if you'd like. These are available.
That doesn't make it of a non-sexual nature, sir. You can also buy other things at the newsstand that certainly we can't talk about in here. So with that, if you would like to conclude your comments, this is not a discussion, but if you'd like to conclude your other point, I'd be happy to hear that for the last 5 seconds you have.
I'm just saying. These are items that are not covered under any violation. I mean,
they are,
certain
sir.
items.
Thank you very much. Oscar
covered.
Johnson is our next speaker. And then after that, we'll hear from Bruce Darien in Van Nuys. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, City Councilman. My name is Oscar Johnson. I speak for the oppressed and I speak for culture change. We need a fair government. We need a just government. We need to change our leader head, our chief of police, and our sheriff deputies. They're going out shooting and murdering unarmed black people, shoot them in the back. The black people need black authority over them. We live in a very racist society. Our present political system only represents white supremacy. One race over another race. We're further away from the Constitution that we're sworn to uphold. And we have no accountability for our law enforcement when they commit those certain type of acts. They should receive capital punishment immediately, put to death. If anyone uses a firearm on the offenses without the victim being unarmed, should be put to death, policemen or not. We should have one government, one law for all peoples. We need to end corruption in government. We need to end government waste. We need better bus rails better buses on the bus service and less rails. We need to indict Mayor Vergosi for taking away public broadcasting on TV. For 20-some years, public broadcasting was on Time Warner Cable. And last year, Mayor Vergosi decided to take public broadcasting off public TV because he said they don't have enough money. And yet and still we keep seeing wasting money with billions and billions and billions coming up in Los Angeles, and none of the buildings is being completed. We have rails and rails, but no completion on the rails. We keep getting lost, but no completion on the lost. He's just fraud and stealing and taking money from the government, and he should be held more accountable for it. We need an open government. We need a fair government. We need to clean up Skid Row, get the drugs off of Skid Row, get our young children off of Skid Row, try to find a safer place for them to be. We need to change the chief of police for putting drugs on the streets of Skid Row, and we need to take Jan Pegg away from her job because she's not doing it.
Our next speaker is Bruce Darien in Van Nuys. After that will be Suyapa Portillo.
Council President, City Council, good morning. I was going to be speaking about the St. Francis Dam this morning, but on the way to City Hall in Van Nuys, I was on Roscoe Boulevard at Willis Avenue, and I saw three men One pull out a spray can, started spraying a garage door on the corner, east corner of Willis and Roscoe Boulevard. After he finished spraying CDBK, which I'm sure is still there right now, I went over to the United States mailbox and sprayed that, CWK. They proceeded, he was wearing a white Odom jersey, number 7, tank top. 3 individuals, they looked like they were 20 years old, walking eastbound or westbound on the south side of Roscoe Boulevard. With that information, I called 911, was not able to get my cell phone to take a picture of them. I think I'm entitled to a $1,000 reward at the point that he's arrested for his work, vandalism. The city has been completely derelict in stopping this Scrooge on the city. You said $7 million you've spent. How many jobs is that? How many taxpayers have to pay out of their money to pay for companies to come out as a free service to people and so forth to take the scrawl off? I can tell you safely that I painted out more graffiti along the coast from Rosendal's district up to Ventura County line than anybody in the history of Los Angeles County. And I photographed it all. More than 5,000 places. The old Sunspot restaurant, I got up on the roof there and painted it out 5 times with my professional Graco equipment. Time after time. At Cane and Doom Road, I got up on the overpass signs and painted it out. All along the coast, all the canyons. And what do? I get falsely arrested by a corrupt sheriff's department like the Gestapo. When you get that person and bring him to justice, I'll be waiting for my reward. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Suyapa Portillo is next, and after that is Pedro, can't quite read it, I think it's Contreras.
Good morning. Morning. We are here as members of the Coalition for Peace and Democracy in Honduras, and we are asking the City Council to support the Honduran community and the large Central American community in Los Angeles in opposing the coup d'etat in Honduras and the de facto government, and in effect supporting democratically elected President Zelaya to come back to power. It is something that is worrying us. Currently, we are the largest Central American community outside of Central America here in Los Angeles. We have elected you. We have, championed many of your races and voted for you. And so we're asking you to please support us. We're concerned about our family members. We also are concerned about human rights violations. In fact, because of the human rights violations that are happening right now, the UN, one of them, let me tell you, the Red Cross has been used to transport tear gas to repress people at the border with Nicaragua. The Red Cross has been used to transport arms to repress people. So the UN is now effectively sent a delegation there to check on human rights violations. So I ask you to come together with the Organization of American States, with the United Nations, as well as 34 Latin American countries in opposing the coup d'etat in Honduras and the human rights violations in that country. Members of the coalition are here to speak to you. They speak Spanish. I can translate okay. So this is why we're here today.
Thank you. I think it's Pedro Gutierrez who's next, and Ricardo Garcia will follow. And we do have an interpreter. It's simulcast live in Spanish, but maybe we can have her come over. Yeah, okay. Oh, she'll give the English translation from here. Por favor.
Buenos días. Good morning. En nombre de la comunidad salvadoreña. In the name of the Salvadorian community. Y preocupado de la situación en Centroamérica. And concerned for the situation in Central America. Simplemente no queremos seguir viviendo los gobiernos del pasado que nos hace inmigrar. Simply, we don't want to continue living with the governments of the past. That causes that we immigrate. Nos violan los derechos humanos constantemente. They violate our human rights. Y estamos pidiendo el apoyo a través de una resolución. We are requesting your support through a resolution. Para nuestras comunidades aquí en Los Ángeles y en apoyo a nuestra gente que sería empezar a vivir lo del pasado, que fuimos refugiados. For our communities here in Los Angeles and for us that are starting to live again what happened to us in the past. We were refugees. Así es que a través de nosotros estaremos
en apoyo a nuestra gente allá y esperando su apoyo. Muchas gracias.
We are supporting our people that lives there, and we are also hoping to receive your support. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Gutierrez. Ricardo Garcia is next, and then Norma Flores will follow. Good morning.
Hi, good morning. I am a Salvadorian born. I'm a citizen of the United States. And I am here to request from you to do history again. You have been doing a great job helping the Central American community. You have passed resolutions in the past to declare this city as a sanctuary of those persecuted in Central America. And now that this is happening, this horrible event that is happening in Central America, we are anguished, and we don't want that millions of Hondurans or Central Americans have to flee our countries. This is the place where the most of our people have come. I am not opposed to people to keep coming to this city, which is great for us. You have passed resolutions, for example, to declare the city of Los Angeles the sister city of San Salvador, for example. You have declared this city as one of the cities which has been a safe haven in the past, in the 80s or 90s of the last century. And now you can do history and pass a resolution declaring that this city is opposed to what is happening in Honduras. Please do it. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. We appreciate your comments. Norma Flores is our next speaker, and then Carlos Mejia will follow. Ms. Flores.
I speak in Spanish, please.
Okay, no problema. Gracias.
Okay. Buenos días, honorables señores del Concilio de Los Ángeles.
Good morning, honorable members of the City Council of Los Angeles.
Les damos las gracias por darnos esta oportunidad, este espacio para poderles pedir el apoyo.
We thank you for giving us the opportunity, for giving us this space for us to ask for your support.
De condenar el golpe de Estado que se ha suscitado en mi país, que es Honduras.
To prohibit what is happening in Honduras.
Las comunidades hondureñas radicadas aquí en el sur de Los Ángeles.
The communities, Hondureña communities that are living here in south of Los Angeles.
Estamos preocupados por la suspensión de las garantías constitucionales en mi país.
We are concerned because we don't have any constitutional guarantees in our country.
Los golpistas están organizando hordas armadas que están asesinando a los dirigentes populares.
They're organizing armed forces that are killing people.
El mundo ha condenado este golpe de Estado.
The world has condemned this.
Yo como votante de este país y como ciudadano,
as a voter and as a citizen of this country,
les pido y les ruego, por favor,
I request and implore you
que se solidarice con nosotros. Muchas gracias.
To join us. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. Was Norma Flores here? Ms. Flores? No? Okay. Rick Nightingale is our next speaker in Van Nuys. Good morning, sir.
Yeah, good morning. Boy, this 29 is something else. I know we can't talk about it yet, but I just don't believe this, but whatever. I'm just wondering what, Smith and our council people in the Valley, what are they giving us, people in the Valley, and fighting for us in the Valley? We had a big conversation regarding water last week. I didn't hear one of them get up and say a word about nothing towards the Valley. We get the short end of the stick every time something comes up down there. We have swimming pools. Yeah, I'm sorry, it's a lot hotter out here, and some of us can afford swimming pools and so forth. And that takes water. You heard that I have 3/4 of an acre. I have to water my lawn, my shrubs, and so forth. It takes water. And now you turn around, and not one of them spoke up about this situation. That the Valley puts up all the money to support you people downtown, because you wouldn't let go concession and let us pull away from you people because we're the money bag out here. But no, we turn around and do this. Well, even when the '84 Olympics came, what did we get out of it? You want to give us a rowing stadium, and that's about it. We didn't get nothing out of that deal. But no, our council people, they aren't fighting for anything. We don't even have an arena to have anything. The only thing we had years ago was Devonshire Downs, and that got taken away. We could be the 7th largest city or 13th largest city in the United States, and we don't have an arena or anything regarding we could do anything with public people participating. We don't get anything from you people downtown. Not one thing except take our money. Our council people don't say anything because we don't even have a fair share or a majority just about of it. You make sure that we don't have, that you can negotiate in the back on something because they don't have a prayer to negotiate with. They just sit there. Thank you.
Thank you. I wanted to recognize Mr. Reyes for a quick response, I know, to our earlier comments. Mr. Reyes.
Thank you, Council President, for that courtesy. I just wanted to rise, and I know it's public comment, but I just want to rise to say thank you for the individuals that came here today. I know we have thousands and thousands of Hondurans living here in Los Angeles. This is an international city. It's a city of immigrants. And so the pain, the anguish that you feel is being shared by many in this city, indeed in this country. And I can only say that we will respond with a resolution asking for peace. That's as much as I could say being public comment. But I do want to say thank you so much, and that we are listening. We are concerned for the peace and welfare of many of the family members that are here in Los Angeles, indeed in this country. So thank you so much for your advocacy.
Thank you. As a point of information, it is okay under council rules to say that you have that motion, and that is something that you've circulated to introduce as well today. So thank you, Mr. Reyes, for that. Our next speaker is Matt Dowd here in council chambers, and then we'll go to Mark Hurd in Van Nuys after Mr. Dowd. Good morning.
Yes, good morning, City Council, and thank you, and thank the Council President for we've had great public comment. For 3 years, I told Mr. Hunt he could wear the outfit, but probably not speak. You allowed the outfit of Van Nuys and all that. In fact, see, you guys made me and Zuma Dog, Michael Hunt, we're icons now. They talk about us on Talkback Radio. They go, oh, these guys mastered public comment. Matt Dowd and Zuma Dog, they even said my name first. Finally, so he's on the ballot. He's going to make the ballot, Zuma. I helped him turn in the signatures. CD2 is up for grabs. There's a vacant seat. David Salzberg right there. It's going to be a great day in the city of Los Angeles. I'm Matt Dowd. I'm a stakeholder. I've backed Zuma Dog a lot for the last 2 or 3 years on the side. People don't realize it. I'm a city businessman here. I have a wholesale distribution business in the city of Los Angeles. I pay my business tax. I've lived in Council District 11 for 5 years. So I'm totally qualified, I feel, to make comments in this forum right here. And I'm actually disgusted at John Walsh because he tried to condemn Bill Handel for the content of his speech on the radio when he's supposed to be a free speech advocate, but he doesn't want Bill Handel to get a star in Hollywood. So that's hypocrisy. I've got to point it out. And that's just a segue to Cameron Diaz. Her star is still illegal. I've put up a blog, a website to explain it. It's stopcamerondiaz.blogspot.com because the public hearing was botched by the City Council. Mr. President, I don't think the President was here. Dennis Zine botched the hearing. He called my name. It's all on the website. He called my name but didn't take the comment. And then
Thank you. Our next speaker is Mark Hurd in Van Nuys, and then Walter Bechtel here in council chambers. Good morning.
Good morning, City Council. Mark Hurd, former President Park Ashton Homeowners Association in Westwood, current board member, Westwood Homeowners Association, and organizer for the Westwood Neighborhood Council. Speaking about the council, we have a meeting on August 19th at 7 p.m. at the Westwood Park Rec Center, which is Veteran and Wilshire, just south of Wilshire. Regarding Council District 2, there's an election going on. People talk about how it takes over $1 million to win a council seat. Chris Essos and Paul Krikorian are your $2 million candidates, so stay away from those two. You've got a lot of choices. Start looking at your choices, people. Regarding Van Nuys and Sherman Oaks, Bill Rosendahl stood up like a man and voted his heart. Paul, you said you wanted to be Mr. Solomon, King Solomon. You backed down, then you came back. How about King David? And just stand up, take a stand. Now, personally, I would have taken the neighborhood councils. I think all people in Van Nuys and all people in Sherman Oaks should decide whether or not their territory wants to change their names. If you want to change Westwood to Beverly Hills, I think you need to talk to everybody in Westwood, not just the people in that little section that want to raise their real estate. Regarding Michael Hunt and the KKK outfit, congratulations for penetrating the KKK. God bless you, and God bless the KKK for allowing African Americans. That is tremendous. But why did the city council have to close down and not let all those people speak over an outfit? Because the outfit invades people's view. Well, does that mean basketball players with afros can't speak now if they're over 7 feet because they block the view of the audience? What are we coming to? This freedom of speech thing is ridiculous. If you read item 29, they're trying to take it away for 3 months. Disallow people to speak for 3 months. It's outrageous. You got to stop that.
Thank you very much. Walter Bechtel is our last speaker for general public comment here in council chambers. Good morning, Mr. Bechtel.
Good morning. Thank you. I was going to speak on item 29, but you voted on it already. I did want to say something about the shocking information that we found out about the KKK. I've been doing some more research, and I did notice that there was a black writer, I forget, I have that information here if you want it. I can upload it to anybody's computer if they want it. And there are several books written about the fact that several earlier black members of the KKK were actually black people, and there's several photos that prove, in fact, many members of the KKK are black people, even today. And I think the shocking information about the thing about it is that it dispels the supposition that the KKK is a racist group, a white supremacist group. In fact, they are a political group, and that's an important difference to understand there, because we were all told this KKK is out after us because we're black people, and this just not so. And burning crosses do not mean we hate the black people. It is actually it has more of a political application, and it's in the area of the South shall rise kind of a situation. But I do note that whatever race you are, or a member of the KKK, they still do advocate are anti-Catholic. So if you're a Catholic, that is something, like myself, I'm a Catholic, that is something that we still need to be concerned about. So I just thought I'd remind the council that when that subject is brought up, that it does not mean a racist situation is a political application. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Bechtel. That will close our general public comment. We'll go to items called special, starting with our commissioners. If I can invite Mr. Martella up for El Pueblo. Thank you for your patience, and I know Mr. Labange is excused on business today, so he's not here. So we want to thank you for your service. If there's anything you'd like to say to the council about your interest in continuing at El Pueblo.
Well, thank you for the opportunity to serve, and we will diligently keep moving on the leases, which I'm sure you've all read about, and trying to get the Italian Hall opened again.
Excellent. Mr. Cardenas. Oh, sorry. I thought you were motioning to talk. Any members wishing to say anything? If not, let's go ahead then and prepare the roll.
12 ayes.
And tabulate the vote. 12 ayes. All right. Thank you, and congratulations on your... I think Mr. Huizar wanted to ask a question. Hold on one second. Let's open the roll in reconsideration. Please open the roll, close the roll, and tabulate the vote.
12 eyes.
It's back before us.
Okay.
All right, let's hold that on the desk. I think you'll get through, if you don't mind holding on for a second. Mr. Hansel, if you'd like to come forward as our next appointee. And this came through our Budget and Finance Committee. I'd like to recognize Mr. Parks.
President, I want to say good morning to Mr. Hansel, and I think most of us have worked with Mr. Hansel on a couple of different commissions, Police Commission for a number of years, and later the BITSI Commission. In fact, one of the few, I always joke with him about this, he's one of the few commissioners that actually did a study and wrote himself out of a job, and basically recommended after the state law changed to move on and cancel out the BITSI Commission. He has basically been asked to and agreed to go on the Police Fire Commission that deals with a very serious issue of pensions within the city. And I think it's important, as you look at his material, to show you the seriousness that he takes this appointment. He reviewed the required 700 form and felt that it was inadequate for the position he's going forward, and actually created his own form and information to advise us of even more information. And I'd like him to give an overview of what his concerns are and the issues dealing with this commission, but also what his concerns are particularly about the level of scrutiny as it relates to background material and vetting for this position.
Great. Thank you, Councilmember Parks. To begin with the form itself, I completed the Form 700, which is the required form, and realized in the process of doing it that much of the information that you really need to know in order to understand the background of a pension commissioner wasn't required by that, and indeed the problems that seemed to have taken place earlier in the year that prompted several commissioners to resign, none of that was information that I would have had to disclose that way. So as Councilmember Parks said, I designed my own form. I filled out the Form 700, but I designed an additional form to give you more information about it. For example, disclosing information about my family and what family members work in the financial services area, so that you knew that. A separate thing also was that was from my business itself. I had to disclose in the Form 700 what I did for a living, the address of my business, and the name of my business, and that was essentially it. And I decided that was probably not enough also, so I asked the mayor's office to give me a list of all the contracts that exist currently with the pension board. I ran a conflict search, and any matches I found with it, I then contacted anybody within the firm that had anything to do in the last couple years with those companies, and I then disclosed what that information was. And there was some other information in there as well, but and I promised Councilmember Parks' office that after I get on and understand it a little bit more, I can work with them to perhaps come up with a form that you would then require of every pension commissioner, just so that you have additional information about it. Your other point about some of the issues that I think you're facing, certainly conflicts of interest has to be number one, and visibility with it. And as you probably know, the board last week adopted a contractor disclosure policy, which I think is a great first step, and I think we'll probably need to take other steps as well in that direction, just so that decisions that are made truly on the basis of merit and not on the basis of any other issue. In addition to that, there are a variety of other things as far as efficiency goes. The auditor's office did an audit of the board. It's a triennial audit that was done. It's about 350 pages. It has about 150 recommendations in that form, and there are many very good ones that are going to merit both the attention of this group and also the board itself. One area just to talk about is the fact that, of course, there are three different pension groups in the city. There's LACERS, DWP, and Fire and Police, and they all right now they have entirely separate staffs, they make separate contracts with money managers, and there probably are a number of savings that can happen there, economies of scale. If two boards are going to be using the same money manager, why not take advantage of that with contracting? There may be a possibility of trying to merge different elements of the staffs themselves, a variety of other things of that sort where there could be a number of economies. And I think there are a variety of other things that way as well that based on this audit, and the League of Women Voters did a study as well, and Mercer did a study that I think merit attention as well.
Mr. Hansel, maybe you could also comment of your general knowledge of some of the issues that are confronting the pension system, particularly in the area of the financial return on investments and some of the issues that are going on throughout the nation as it relates to some of the concerns you have or that the Pension Commission should be looking at this time.
I think there are several things there, one of which, again, has to do with who we do business with and how it is that we've done business with them. Even I noticed one of the public speakers earlier made reference to that issue about contributions that may have been given and things that may even go beyond contributions, and really taking a hard look at that. And I know the board and the staff has already done that by ending relations with one particular contractor. Another issue is as far as driving the best deals that you can with people, part of which, of course, is taking advantage of economies of scale. But second, when they charge commissions, there is both the fee and then there's a hidden fee that sometimes exists as well, and of really trying to spend more time focusing in on that. It's not easy to do because, by definition, some of the additional charges that have to do with the timing of purchases and what have you, and may require a consultant to be able to work with us, but that's certainly another area that's on my mind. A third is, do we have too many money managers in certain areas with it? And it's just a question. I'm not drawing any conclusions, but one of the problems, if you have too many in one area, then you may have, people may not have sort of an overall view of things, and it may make sense to actually look toward having fewer money managers, not just because we may be able to extract a better deal as a result of it, but because as a result of it, you may be able to have people that may have more of a global view in the respective areas that they're working in. So those are some of the issues.
Thank you, Mr. Hansel. There may be some other questions by council members, but I would just strongly advocate that we support Mr. Hansel's nomination and allow him to go full speed to work as a police fire pension commissioner.
Thank you very much. We have two more speakers on the queue so far. Mr. Alarcon is our next speaker.
Hey, Dean. One of the issues that's been troubling me is the issue of smoothing and the fact that the pension systems have been slow to react to the volatility in the marketplace with regard to the enormous amount of money that the city has to pay them when there is a tremendous downturn in the economy. And their investments fail, quite frankly. It's ironic that when their investments fail, the city has to pay more. That is, something's wrong with that system. But the whole idea of smoothing is to smooth out the burden on any one year so that it isn't absorbed in 1 year and it is felt in a multiplicity of years. So when is the commission, what are you going to do to get the commission off the dime to expand the smoothing problem so that we could get a more fair allocation of the burden that the city has to bear for bad investments by the pension system?
So, one, thank you for raising it. That was on my list too, and I'd just forgotten to mention it with it. And it's just, and certainly with smoothing. I mean, we're in a very extraordinary time right now with the stock market having taken an unprecedented hit, and as near as I can tell, looking at other investment classes as well, they also were affected by it, and they took the hit at the time that the city can least afford to sort of make up the difference on it, and it's a real, and so I think that with it, I mean, one of the obligations of a fiduciary, which a pension commissioner is obviously to look at the solvency of the employer, and in this particular case, that's the City of Los Angeles, and therefore, I mean, I have not seen any actuarial reports yet because I haven't even stepped into the job, but my own view on it is I think we need to smooth with it, because I think not to do so right now would sort of create an intolerable risk on the city. And it's obviously it's a balance because you have to keep the system solvent, but at the same time, I think given these unusual circumstances we're in, I think smoothing is going to be important, and what that requires, of course, is you have to change the definition of the corridor that exists, because otherwise you can't smooth right now. My understanding is that that's on the agenda for the commission, and I'm going to look forward to reading the actuarial reports, and also talking to the attorneys about it. But I have to think as a fiduciary that taking that approach right now towards smoothing is a responsible thing to do.
Mr. Hansel, I want to thank you for that response. The fact of the matter is, the City of Los Angeles needs somebody to protect his interest, and the way that you've stated that it is a fiduciary responsibility for the pension system to consider our viability, the city budget's viability, and given the tremendous suffering that we've seen, it seems to me that they're a little slow in responding to that part of their responsibility. We really need a champion over there, and I hope that you are able to push that issue through. There ultimately is no loss to the pension system for smoothing. It's just a question of timing and how much burden the city bears in any one year. Mm-hmm. So I would appreciate your leadership to drive the pension to do the right thing.
I'll try my best.
You can start my time again.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Alarcon. We will, in about 3 minutes. Ms. Perry is our next speaker.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. I've known Mr. Hansel for a very long time, and he has served as a commissioner before on behalf of ITA, the department, and he did an excellent job there. I think that we're very fortunate to have someone with his credentials and his background and his good record of public service willing to serve again on one of the most important, extremely complex commissions we have here in the city. And so I hope this proceeds quickly so that he can get to work. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Perry. And I could also ditto that as well. Thank you. You set the model for what a commissioner should be, and I want to particularly praise you for going above and beyond what the ethics requirements on disclosure are, especially because of this position. You have continuously set the bar. Not only did you work yourself out of your last job, which is a rare thing in government when people say it's time to pack up and here's a level of government or an entity that doesn't need to exist anymore, but with the Board of Information Technology Commissioners, but you have provided extraordinary service to the people of Los Angeles. So thank you for stepping up again.
Thank you.
And with that, let's go ahead and prepare the roll on the nomination and tabulate the vote.
12 ayes.
Congratulations, Commissioner.
Great.
Welcome
Thank
aboard.
you very much.
Thank you. We have next the appointment of the City Administrative Officer, and I'd like to ask Mr. Santana to come forward. We won't hold that applause against you, don't worry. And we had this come through our Budget and Finance Committee as well, and I'd like to call on Councilmember Parks as our first speaker. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. President. Colleagues, I just asked and begged for your attention for a few minutes. This may be one of the most important decisions that any of us will make over the next several years. As we know how much we rely on the CAO's position, we saw how we went through at least an 8 or 9 hour exercise to select the CLA a couple of years ago. And so it is important. It's something that I think all of us should be prepared to listen to Mr. Santana's remarks, but also ask those questions early on as to the issues that you may have concerns about, so he can explain them in open public so that you're fully aware where he stands on a variety of issues. I don't know whether we would congratulate him or give him condolences. to walk into a job in which he's confronted immediately with several $100 million of deficit and attempting to move this administrative process forward. I would not like to end my comments without thanking Ray, who I think did a wonderful job as the interim, that basically kept us on course and certainly understands that budget as well as anybody in this city. And one of the things, as a selfish issue with this appointment, we get Ray back in the Budget and Finance Committee, which is something that we will work him even harder. But I just want Mr. Santana to just give your opening remarks. We discussed some of these issues with you at the committee, but I think it's important that the whole body hears your remarks, and then they may formulate their own questions to get back after you finish.
Good morning. I guess this is the official hot seat. I'm used to the one down the street. Council President Garcetti and members of the City Council, I am honored to be before you today as a nominee for the position of City Administrative Officer for the City of Los Angeles. These are certainly difficult times. However, today's challenges bring an opportunity to improve upon our ability to deliver services, restore confidence among our employees, and set a new solid foundation for our city's future. This is the reason that I'm here before you today. I am proud to state that my parents and my wife and daughters and family are with me today. And as a son of Mexican immigrants, I have chosen a career in public service. As public servants, we are entrusted by taxpayers to ensure that each dollar is spent wisely to produce quality, responsive, and relevant government services. Our greatest challenge is to balance our responsibility to live within our means while ensuring the best services in an effective, efficient, and transparent manner. This work can be done together as one city towards a common goal. As your CAO, it will be my responsibility to work with your council, the mayor, labor, and community stakeholders to set priorities, eliminate inefficiencies and redundancies, and develop a blueprint for change. Moreover, it will be my duty to help you harness your ideas and drive them towards results. The CAO is the city's independent voice in providing the mayor, the city council, with the best fiscal counsel and credible factual information to enable you to make the tough decisions that shape the present and future path. The CAO is here to assist the city's elected officials to set a course, and once that course is set, it will be my job to keep the ship sailing in that direction, no matter how turbulent the fiscal realities may be. The CAO's most essential work product is, of course, the budget. The budget is the most important policy document for the city. It is where we lay out our priorities, values, and vision. As the CAO, my office will utilize the budget process to find common ground to the difficult decisions that lie ahead. We will lay out the scope of the problem by staying focused on the facts and asking the tough questions while adapting to the changes in the fiscal environment. We will help recommend priorities by focusing on outcomes, not just programs, and identify new ways of doing business while upholding our commitment to our employees. We will always protect the integrity of our processes and provide straightforward, direct, and clear information. Before I conclude my prepared remarks, I'd like to touch on an issue that was raised by many of you when we had an opportunity to meet one-on-one. And that, very frankly, was a question of independence. Many of you raised that as a concern. Many of you pointed out that this is a unique position in the city that reports both to the City Council and to the Mayor of Los Angeles. And I was asked multiple times, how is it that I'll be able to maintain that independence? Well, I'm proud to have developed a career and a reputation for candor and for providing the best counsel to those that I serve. And I could assure you that I will continue to do so in this context. I believe that this position provides a rare opportunity to really bring together different interests, different ways of looking at the same problem, and developing strategies to get to the same goal. And so I look forward to working with each one of you, developing your trust, and setting a path forward for our city. These are certainly difficult times. The stakes are too high and the challenges too many to not face them honestly and head on. But by doing this difficult work together, we will lay a foundation for a stronger city for generations to come. Again, thank you so much for this opportunity. I look forward to the challenge. I know it won't be easy, but I think together we could get it done. Thank you.
Let me just ask a couple of questions that came up at the Budget Committee. You touched on the issue of independence. Could you just give a little overview in the sense of budget skills and also debt management that certainly the city relies on that position?
Well, as Deputy CEO for Los Angeles County, I oversee all the social services. I have a budget that's well over $8 billion. My responsibility is to develop the budget from the very beginning, acknowledge the changes in revenue, monitor those changes in revenue, acknowledge changes in demand, which certainly in my area of social services with public social services has been tremendous in the last 2 years. Develop consensus around new initiatives and priorities that the Board of Supervisors has laid out, as well as the CAO, Bill Fujioka. My responsibility is to provide recommendations on those various pieces of the budget and to present the budget to the board in my respective areas. My responsibility is also to stay informed and monitor closely the changes that develop in the course of the year in the budget. Certainly this year, more than any, those changes have been significant, particularly in the area of social services, as we just saw in the governor's latest budget from yesterday. And my job is to provide recommendations on how to address those issues and to stay focused on the priorities that the Board of Supervisors has laid out. This last 2 years have been particularly challenging for the county as it relates to social services. Last year, the governor blue penciled $50 million in public social services alone after we had already adopted our budget. We had to open up our budget, identify $50 million worth of savings and efficiencies, find new ways of drawing down additional federal revenue. And I'm proud to say at the end of the day, we were able to do so without eliminating critical programs and without one single layoff. Certainly, that was last year, and this year is going to be certainly a lot tougher to do, but the process remains the same. It's about being focused on your priorities, is being focused on outcomes, and ensuring that those things that the governing board consider to be the most important continue to be protected. And as it relates to debt finance, my responsibility has been to advise the Supervisor Molina and Chief Administrative Officer Bill Fujioka on various policies regarding our debt. You know, one thing that is certain is that you don't worry about your credit rating on the day that you meet with your credit raters. You worry about it throughout the year. Every decision you make will impact that meeting and the outcome of those meetings. And so what's essential to know is that those concerns are part of the responsibility of the CAO. We are fortunate that in this city we have a very strong set staff in that area, and I look forward to working with them.
Thank you very much, and colleagues, certainly those are some of the issues that we dealt with at the committee, and certainly I'm sure Miguel is ready to answer questions from the body.
Thank you, Mr. Parks. Mr. Garcetti, followed Mr. Reyes.
Thank you very much, Mr. President, and good morning, Mr. Santana. Congratulations on your nomination.
Thank you.
I know you have friends and family that's here. Welcome to our council chambers. Good to see you all here as well. And I want to thank the mayor for the nomination, and very much enjoy the conversations we've had for a job that is close to impossible. It is the most important position in the city of Los Angeles, in my opinion, and the most important hire that we will make in our time here. I also want to reiterate what was said by Mr. Parks and thank Ray Serrano for doing an amazing job as our interim CAO at an extremely difficult time. And I want to thank all the members of the CAO's staff who every single day work so tirelessly to give us objective financial and policy advice so that we can do the right thing, make the right decision. We don't always make the right decision, but you always give us the best advice that you can. And more often than not, we do make the right decision because of the advice you have given us along with our chief legislative analyst. You're entering into potentially a job which is a half fiscal agent, half policymaker, half CEO of an office, and half group therapist. So you need at least to be double an average human being to work hard, to be many ways the connector in this city between council members, between the council and the mayor, between mayoral staff, with departments, your own folks, the CLA, etc. And under the charter, you are really tasked with certain things that we have to make sure are protected and remain strong. Our labor negotiations, first and foremost, in this very difficult time and in the toughest year we've had in 80 years. But also to make sure that we have the capability to think creatively and to look at where we can save money, get more money, and really bring the best and the brightest in Los Angeles, not just to the CAO's office, which we've had, but also to city and to service. So I wanted to ask you a few questions in these incredibly difficult times. First, on pensions. You heard during the previous discussion with Dean Hansel, who's going to serve on our Police and Fire Pension Board. Where do you see the city's pension problems? How do you compare those to other local governments and state governments? And what are some of the ideas you think that we should be doing now as we face as much as a $500 million hole and up to 40% of every dollar that we spend going towards making our pensions whole?
Well, the issue of pensions is one of the most challenging facing the city. And you know, I'm far from an expert from your particular problem at this point, but from what I see from across the street and from what I've been talking to many of you and certainly the CAO's office, major decisions need to be made about the future of our pension system in order to be able to maintain our budget afloat and to maintain our commitment to those who rely on that pension. I think this is a time where we need to have no sacred cows, where we need to really look at all options, look at all ways that other jurisdictions have been grappling with this issue. We should bring together a panel of experts in this arena, folks that you feel confident with in the private sector as well as those in other public sector agencies, and really roll up our sleeves and figure out how we're going to address the problem in the short term, but also in the long term. Down the street, I think the board has sort of seen this problem coming and has been very conservative as it relates to how to manage this issue. But even down the street, it's a problem because our workforce is retiring at record rates. The median age of an employee at the county is very close to retirement. So it's every local government is grappling with this issue, and it's a balancing act that needs to be practiced.
In terms of another area, and there's no question, I think, just on the pension piece, our chairman, Mr. Parks, and others have been very diligent on this, and I think we already have kind of an informal working group, but I think we'll constitute a more formal working group specifically on the pension idea that I think, the CAO should be one of the leads on, getting together with our labor unions that I've discussed this with, the Chamber of Commerce, the League of Women Voters, and immediately, not waiting till the whole comes around in our next budget negotiations, but getting out in front of that with the mayor, city controller, et cetera. I think we'll be moving on that, and we look forward to helping put that forward. The second area, though, is on, and this has been something that has come up time and time again on our receipts, where we have a lot of outstanding money that is out there. We have other ways that we can kind of more creatively look at. There's certain business taxes that aren't being collected. For instance, when there's a documentary transfer tax, there's supposed to be a tax attached to that. Some of it is coordination with the county, really, to do a better job of making sure that we cross-compare databases, which we've been able to do through the Office of Finance between state tax and local tax, and that's been very helpful. That's part of the reason we reduced the business tax for everybody in this city, because we went after scofflaws that weren't paying anything that we didn't know about. But what are some of your ideas in terms of upping our receipts and not just falling into the trap that the state has had to do, which is cut, but for us to be able to preserve some of those critical city services we have?
Well, I know your council has been creative in looking at a number of different ways to raise revenue. I know there's one way being considered now that the CAO's office is looking at, and I think that's an appropriate way to go in terms of looking at every possible way of generating revenue for the city. But I would say that just like everything else, I think the issue of generating revenue shouldn't be done in isolation. Because additional taxes have implications one way or the other. And while the city is in need of additional revenue, there's also a tremendous need of providing jobs and growing our economy. So I would approach that by building a team to look to make sure we're maximizing all the current revenue streams that are on the books. I think you're right, establishing better coordination with the county and with the state makes sense in order to ensure that we're getting our fair share as a city, but also how to make the pot bigger for everybody. And the third area is sitting down with the private sector and figuring out how do the private sector has a responsibility to this problem from the standpoint that they rely on our services to be competitive in this environment, as well as to attract the talent from throughout the country to Los Angeles to work here. And so we need to develop a relationship with the private sector to find ways of building new revenue that reflects the changes of the economy, the growth areas in the economy, and at the same time doesn't stymie those efforts as they move forward. So those are the three main approaches that I would take on in finding better ways to generate revenue.
Okay. And just the last area very briefly is our labor negotiations, and obviously we can't get into the details of those here, but what role do you see the CAO's office playing in, we still have outstanding contracts and contracts that are coming up, some right now that are outstanding and some that are that would be coming up in the next couple of years. What is your ideal vision of how those negotiations occur, timeline, calendar, and the engagement of the policymakers at the appropriate times?
Well, the city has a process, and the ERC committee is delegated to help manage labor negotiations and provide direction to the CAO's office on these matters, and then they make recommendations to the larger council. I think the principal job of the CAO's office is to ensure that that committee and the council has all the information in an accurate and timely and straightforward manner to provide the best direction as a foundation for those negotiations. I also believe that it's a responsibility of the CAO to protect the integrity of that process, that what is agreed upon as a strategy within that committee, that process gets maintained and is protected along the way, and that any changes in direction from that strategy are done in full consultation with the committee so that everyone knows what the trade-offs are of making those decisions and those changes. But I think once those two things are set in foundation, first, accurate and clear information, and second, a process that everyone could count on and respect and honor, then I think it's possible to establish negotiations that are fair to both our workers and to the bottom line of the city. It's when those two things start falling apart that it becomes much more difficult to engage in a kind of negotiation that results in satisfying the interests of all the parties. And so the CEO's office plays a critical role in both of those areas.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. I know my time has expired. Thank you for those answers. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Mr. Reyes, followed by Mr. West, and Mr. Koretz, Mr. Weezer. Mr. Reyes.
Thank you, Council President. I also want to thank Ray for his hard work. I know you're probably the one person that was holding the dam together and had enough courage to give us the reality checks. And so I thank you for your hard work and your staff, because I know that was a very, very, in my mind, a Herculean effort. So thank you for keeping our feet to the fire. I also want to say thank you to the family for being here, and to your family, your daughters, and your brothers and sisters. You should be very proud that he's at this point of the process, and that to have you here and encouraging him says a lot about the strength of unity and family. So congratulations. Miguel, in terms of efficiencies, you spoke about your experience in the county and the fact that, yes, you do have to respond to the mayor and respond to the council, but I also think there's a culture in the city that I believe has hurt us. We've had traditional ways of approaching our resources. Department heads tend to look at themselves as the controller of their fiefdom. They each have their resources and they protect it, and they look out after their field, if you will. But in the process, I think we've hurt ourselves as a city and not being able to leverage what resources we have, look at efficiencies. So I'd just like to ask you, what experience do you have in that regard? Or if you don't have an experience, how would you approach it? And knowing that the mayor through the charter has the power to hire and fire the department heads, we of course approve the budget, but different points in time, and I'm not sure we have that time today to deal with what's in front of us. So I'd like to pose that question to you and see how you would handle the situation, or to see how we can create that type of change.
Well, I think efficiencies is really about looking at outcomes, is asking the question, how do we get to the same outcome in a more efficient and effective way? And one of the things that we've done in the county, particularly in my area, is really look at that question from a variety of different perspectives. I'll give you an example. I mentioned earlier that our budget was cut by $50 million in the area of public social services. And in looking at that budget and understanding where the expenditures were going, we've discovered that we were spending about $10 million on a program that made sure that every single person that receives benefits gets a home visit by a social worker before they actually get enrolled. We asked the question, well, how effective is that program in preventing fraud? Because that was the genesis behind it. It was a grand jury recommendation a decade ago. And we found that that program had less than a 1% likelihood of catching someone committing fraud. And so when you look at it, here's $10 million that we're spending. We have an army of people. We had 70 people whose sole job it was to drive around the county making sure that you were as poor as you say you are. And at the same time, facing a deficit of $50 million, we looked at that and said, well, maybe there's a better way of doing fraud prevention. We looked at data mining. And data mining is essentially a way of using statistics and analytics to find folks who have a higher probability of committing fraud by their behavior and patterns of behavior. And we tested that approach on child care, for example, and we found that we could identify individuals who commit fraud at a 70 to 80% rate. That program would cost us a one-time cost of $1 million and an ongoing cost of $500,000. So $10 million, 70 people, $1 million, $1.5 million, with a much more effective chance of reaching the same goal. So when we certainly looked at that and made that analysis, we went to the board and said, we understand that you set this out as a priority, but the very truth is that it's not working. It's a $10 million program that's not really getting you the results that you intended. We support this other mechanism, and certainly after looking at that, the board made the obvious conclusion that we're better off supporting the cheaper, more effective way of proceeding forward. And again, while certainly the city doesn't engage in welfare to work activities, the process for identifying efficiencies is the same. Is looking at what is the outcome that we're trying to achieve here, and we shouldn't shy away from that outcome. Combating fraud is a good thing. We all support that. But how do we do it in a way that's more efficient and more effective, and break down some of the territorial issues that may come with those limitations, break down some of the assumptions that we do it that way because that's the way it gets done, which is, an unfortunate part of how government operates. And then providing the information so the policymakers can make the final determination. So I think those kinds of approaches could be tackled in a number of areas. There's a number of redundancies in any organization and inefficiencies, and I think there could be a tremendous amount of savings, not just within just the city, but if you look at government as a whole. There's a lot of inefficiencies in what overlap there is between what the city does and what the county does. And so certainly the lack of integration creates not only ineffective results, but also ineffective loss of dollars. Homelessness is a good example of that.
I appreciate that answer. And one of the areas that I think we have been very weak, and I know Ray made an attempt to address it in the middle of all this turmoil, is the fact of how we devalue our own property, the property we control as a city, the lack of coordination in understanding the value of location, and how, for example, almost every department in my district, I hate to say this, but they tend to be the biggest slumlord in my district. All the maintenance yards they have, the unkept conditions of the sidewalks, their landscaping, they each have to have their own parking lot when they could be sharing that space. And that's valuable land that we could monetize that airspace. Now, we're taking the initiative to change the entitlements and the zoning to create a greater presence and a greater sense of place. But the city controls it. I can't get the general services real estate to get the department heads to sit down and say, maybe we should share parking. Maybe we should have a mixed-use project in this dead space that lies right next to the river that is conducive to a blighting effect. 8 years, every department head has their own reason of why they can't or shouldn't do it. And we're wasting millions and millions of dollars. So that is a microcosm, I think, of a greater weakness throughout the city. And I would hope that as we try to save jobs and become more efficient with our land use decisions, our own property we control, to effectuate a greater return for the sake of our communities, I'm hoping that that time will come, and as the departments listen to my words today, I'm hoping they're hearing that we need to change that posture and hopefully facilitate the efficiencies that you are speaking of. But thank you for your experience.
If I could comment on that, I think that one of the benefits of the crisis that we're in is that it forces all of us to put aside sort of the territorialism that takes place, or well, we've never done it that way, or it's too much work, or we're not in the business of development. Because for our own survival, we're going to have to find creative ways to simply stay afloat. And the presence of any facility in a community plays a major role. It plays a role in contributing to the crime of that area. It plays a role in the blight. And it certainly plays a role in whether investors choose to invest in those areas. If we're looking to build new revenue, if we're looking to expand our economy, and also be better neighbors to the community we're here to service, we have to be mindful of that role that we play in each and every neighborhood, but also go beyond the traditional way of looking at our role in these communities and our role as government. So I think the crisis that we're in and that we're going to continue to be in is going to force us to develop some more innovative, creative solutions to some of these problems.
Thank you.
Sure.
Mr. Wesson.
Thank you, Mr. President and members. I would be remiss if I didn't thank Ray for his service, and your staff went above and beyond the call of duty, and we're very appreciative of everything that you've done. I don't rise to ask Miguel a question. I just rise to make a brief statement. Miguel called me right after he received the appointment, and he said, well, I want to meet with you. I said, you don't have to meet with me. I'm there. But he forced me to meet with him anyway. Let me tell you why I didn't need to meet with him. When both of us, I think our waist sizes might have been an inch and a half smaller, that's when we met, maybe almost 15, 16 years ago. And we have another colleague with us in the back, Michael Bustamante, who's here from his busy schedule just because he wants to see you get this appointment, because he and I both are so proud of you. But we started out, members, as staffers in the Board of Supervisors. That's where we met. And I might come up with a creative idea. My problem was always trying to implement it. So we would all get together, give the concept to Miguel, and somehow he would get it done. That's the type of CAO that we have an opportunity to confirm today. Where it relates to independence, he should have received hazardous duty pay for a lot of the work that he did, but that's where he was trained. He was trained with a very effective public servant in Supervisor Molina, but she was very tough, very fair, and he had the guts to stand up and state his case. He will come into our offices and he will look us in the eyes and he will tell us the truth. He will be independent, and I think we need to remember that. He will give us wise counsel. I'm just excited about the opportunity of seeing you again with some regularity, and I have no doubt, it is crystal clear in my mind, that you will do a phenomenal job in very difficult times. In fact, when we first met, the state was in a similar crisis. So we had, that's where we earned our spurs, and Miguel took the lead in making great suggestions, and somehow the county did survive. And a lot of that could be attributed to you. So with that said, I would hope that all of us would vote yes, and I want to say that you have a good-looking family. They are obviously very proud of you. I see a lot of smiles out there, and I guess that's what being a mom or a dad is all about, to see the kid that done good. But anyway, you got my vote, and I look forward to working with you again, my dear friend.
Thank you, Councilman.
Thank you. If we can just pause here to let a couple folks go home, or go back to work, excuse me. If we can take up the ordinances that we were waiting 12 members for, 11, 12, 13, 30, and 31.
And I'm sorry, Mr. President, just for the record, on 11 and 12, those are both for BIDs, and there's no majority protest on either one of those.
Okay. You can please prepare the roll and tabulate the vote.
12 ayes.
Those are approved. Thank you. Our next speaker in the queue, I think, was Mr. Koretz. Mr. Koretz?
Thank you, Mr. President. You come from the county, obviously, in a significant position. How can your coming from that position impact us positively? Are there ways that we can work more cooperatively with the county on issues of homelessness and AIDS and other issues of significance? And also, are there areas of duplication between the city and county that we can work on eliminating?
Well, I think there is a tremendous opportunity. For some reason, and I haven't been able to quite figure it out, there's a little bit of a feud between the city and the county. And maybe Councilman Wesson will help enlighten me now that he served both roles. But I think a lot of it is unnecessary, because the reality is that we are attached by the hip on many issues. Homelessness is a good example of that. There are 70,000 homeless people in LA County, and the majority of the homeless population is in the city of Los Angeles. And so the county cannot have a homeless strategy without it coordinating closely with the city of LA. During my tenure overseeing homeless programs, we've worked very closely with the city on very specific projects, on identifying ways of bringing the most chronic and the most vulnerable homeless individuals in Skid Row into housing and keeping them in housing and providing them the social services so that they start dealing with the issues that got them to be homeless in the first place. We've also done the same in identifying opportunities for homeless families in the Skid Row area, moving over close to 300 families from Skid Row into permanent housing using city vouchers and county services. I think there's a tremendous amount of opportunity to better link the housing component and the service component, which are both critical in keeping people out of homelessness and having them thrive. I also believe that the city has an interest in being involved, or at least having a voice in the area of social services, because what happens in social services actually impacts you. General Relief is a good example of that. It's a program that provides a whopping $221 to individuals who are indigent, the majority of whom are homeless. And it's an ineffective program that has essentially not really resulted in the outcomes that we all intended it to from the beginning. Well, when 60% of the individuals on this program are homeless, and the majority of the homeless population live in the city, it makes a lot of sense for the city to have a role in understanding how that program works and how to make it more effective. And so, but there's a lot of areas where coordination and collaboration could be done. In gang prevention, I co-chair the county's gang prevention strategy, and I'm fortunate to have colleagues from the city who also are part of that committee, because there are jurisdictions throughout in the target areas that fall both into city and county areas. In the area of redevelopment, that's an ongoing tension between the city and the county. And again, I think there are opportunities to strengthen and work together. In the area of bonding, there's other opportunities as well. So I think the fact that I come from this county and sort of grew up there, I think provides an opportunity to establish a new relationship for the future.
Thank you. If we can also take up item 8, I think the questions have been answered for Mr. Huizar there. If we can prepare the roll on the renomination and tabulate the vote.
11 ayes.
And we'll let our commissioner go get re-sworn in. Thank you again. Thank you for your patience. Our next speaker in the queue is Mr. Huizar, and then Mr. Zine.
Thank you, Mr. President. And Mr. Santana, thank you so much for the work you have done in your career as a public servant. It's remarkable, and I think you're bringing to your new role a significant amount of experience, both working for an elected official and for working for a public agency that perhaps is just as large as many of the states in this country, or perhaps even as large as some countries in the world in terms of the oversight you have to do at that place. I've seen your work in terms of your thoughtfulness, the seriousness by which you take up your issues, and so I appreciate that, and I think you will do well in this role. I only have one question, and that is, for the past 3 years in my role as a member of the Budget and Finance Committee, I have been advocating for us to enroll in a process by which we use zero-based budgeting to look at our departments and to ask ourselves, what is it that we are, what is the role of these departments, what is their core mission, and how do we build upon that to ensure that we are providing the mission and goals of those departments while looking for ways to save money in these very tough fiscal times. This past budget process, with the support of my members on the committee and the full council, we have allocated some funding to bring in additional capacity for the CAO and the CLA to look at 2 or 3 departments so that we implement that budgeting process for these departments. Any thoughts on zero-based budgeting? Have you had any experience with it? What do you, well, let's leave it at that.
Well, call it zero-based budgeting or something else. I think what is critical is that through the budget process, there is an evaluation of every dollar that's being spent. And the way I understand zero-based budgeting to be is that you do exactly that you justify every expenditure and you attach it to an outcome. And so you use the budget process to determine whether those outcomes are being reached. Given the context that we're facing, I don't think we have a choice but to do that. And it needs to be done not just during the budget, but an ongoing process. I also support looking at establishing a budget that's multiple years, not just 1 year, because the reality is that these initiatives that we're going to have to engage in to find efficiencies, to find better ways of doing business, are not going to happen overnight. They're going to require very careful monitoring during a specific period of time, between a period of 3 or 5 years. And if we're going to budget accordingly to account for those savings that we're projecting, we need to have that process to do so. And so I support looking at the budget as a multiple-year process and engaging in that review on a regular basis. I certainly have done that within the context of my role in the CAO's office with our own budgets. We look at every expenditure and justify it. We have goals and outcomes associated to our expenditures. We evaluate those goals and outcomes and determine whether or not we're achieving them the following year. And when we're not, we make adjustments and we ask why not and try to find ways to make it stronger. So it's there's a lot of different terms that you could use, but at the bottom line, it's a necessity, not just a luxury. And it's something that I would fully support and would want to continue.
Great, thank you. And my final comment on that is that through our incremental budgeting process, we, the decision makers, as to what we should or should not cut within departments, we only see what is being proposed to us.
Right.
And we only see probably 1 to 5% of the whole budget at different departments. And I think what zero-based budgeting allows us to do is to look at the whole picture.
That's right.
So that we are able to see different options and then ask ourselves, given the priorities of this council, what is it do we really want to cut or save or redirect or do more efficiencies? And I think that is of particularly value to the decision makers who, under our current process, we only see the tail end and not see much about the budget's full budget. And finally, one thing that I've been involved with as a chair of the Audits Committee is to look at a report that came out from Laura Check on the risk management system that we have in place for the city. We have asked the current CAO to start implementing some of the recommendations to look at risk management for the city more comprehensively and to create different systems as to how we are managing the risk for our city, which areas of the city have more risk than others, and how do we start changing our practices in those areas. We have no funding to implement this new system, but we've been told that the CAO's office is going to continue on the path, and we will deal with this issue as it arises. But I would ask that you take a look at that, because I think that has the potential to not only save the city millions of dollars, but also to make our city a lot safer for its employees and its residents. And so that is an item that I think will gain more traction this coming year as we look to save more dollars. Thank you and congratulations.
Thank you. Well, if I could comment on the risk management piece. Every settlement that your council approves really provides a glimpse of a system failure in the government. And certainly one of the things that I would be supportive of and working with you is developing a process where with each settlement that you approve, there's a corrective action plan that comes with it that identifies what went wrong, not only who was responsible, not for the purposes of placing blame, but finding out why was that person not properly trained? Was the circumstances such that resulted in this negative outcome? And how can we change the system as a whole to ensure that that mistake doesn't happen again, or at least minimize the probability of it happening again? We at the county have a very aggressive program related to corrective action, and we apply it in everything from medical malpractice to sexual harassment lawsuits. And so what that has done, and I worked on this specific piece with Supervisor Molina, is it's allowed us to actually start seeing a decline in our settlements. And we start establishing goals of how much we want to decline our budget as it relates to our payouts. We've done it effectively. The most effective has been in sexual harassment, for example, by really using these cases as a way of unfolding what it is that's wrong systemically in our system and how do we prevent it from happening in the future. I think there's a tremendous opportunity for the city to engage in the same kind of process, and I'll be delighted to pursue it.
Mr. Zion.
Final speaker. Final word. I had an opportunity to meet with you and discuss a lot of the issues, and your poise, your confidence, your experience, I think, is reflective of your desire for this position. Why you want to come into an environment that is on the verge of major economic crisis to try and turn the ship around, which we're all trying to do. I commend you for that, and I think that your background reflects your dedication to public service. I had a conversation with some folks at the county, very impressed with your work. So I wish you well. I'm sure there'll be some bumps in the road. We'll be with you to help get through those. So I'm sure you'll get the confirmation today, and wish you well in this new endeavor, because there's a long history of representatives who've held that seat, who have steered us in the right course, and you're going to be assuming that command. So congratulations, as I'm sure the vote will be in your favor.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. That is the last speaker on the queue. So, colleagues, we now have the vote on the new city administrative officer before us. Madam Clerk, please open the roll. Please close the roll and tabulate the vote.
11 ayes.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
And welcome aboard.
Thank you. Look forward to it.
Please get the handcuffs. There's no leaving now.
And, Mr. President, just for the record, the salary on that is $256,803.
Yes, thank you. All right, and with that, if we can take up the next two commissioners. I think we have two others left, is that right? Oh, that was done, okay. We've had a request to take item number 39 out of order by Ms. Perry. So if we can take up item number 39, and I'll recognize Ms. Perry at this time. Item 39, Ms. Perry?
Oh, I'm sorry, Mr. President. I'm not sure if John Reamer is still here. Oh, there you are. Great, John. Yeah. If you could come to the table. And I wanted to just have him give us a synopsis about what this ordinance entails. If you just take maybe 2 minutes tops.
2 minutes? Very good. Good morning, Council. John Reamer, Inspector of Public Works, Director of the Bureau of Contract Administration. What we have before us today, the Public Infrastructure Stabilization Ordinance. When we think of infrastructure, we tend to focus on the brick and mortar of what we do in the City of Los Angeles to make sure that it's stable and it's functioning as it should. And with respect to our capital improvement program, we deliver it timely, safely, with quality construction. This ordinance, however, is going to also focus on another component of our infrastructure, which is the community itself, shining light on the fact that we want to, and it's important that we make sure we provide opportunities for the men and women who live in the City of Los Angeles by giving them access to our construction contracts. So what we have here is a request for the Bureau of Contract Administration, the Department of Public Works, to work with the city attorney to draft an ordinance that will capture the importance of what we have been doing in public works, which is using a vehicle known as project labor agreements to make this very thing come to pass. In the department, we have had, over the past 3 years, 9 project labor agreements covering 12 projects. With that, our success rate has been the following. We have put over 2,500 people to work. roughly $30 million is being reinvested in the community through wages and benefits, with $530 million in projects to do this. So we have experienced success. We want to move forward, and instead of doing project by project labor agreement, come up with one project labor agreement that will cover a good majority of the work that we do in Public Works.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Reamer. I want to really thank you for your hard and diligent work, and thank you for the very clear synopsis and overview. Colleagues, as a council, I think we've been proactive in trying to get local city residents employment opportunities on city-involved or sponsored projects, and adopting this motion today brings us one step closer to codifying local hire mandates on public works projects. Working with the building trades, the Board of Public Works, the Mayor's Office, the Bureau of Contract Administration, and the City Attorney's Office, I hope to have an ordinance in committee by September and back for your review and approval. I've placed an executive summary on each one of your desks, and it's been done by the Economic Roundtable that the Community Development Department commissioned on concentrated poverty in Los Angeles. The study illustrates two very important points. First, it quantifies something that we all instinctively or anecdotally know. Poverty adversely affects city residents and has a direct financial impact on local government. Second, Los Angeles is one of only two major United States metropolitan areas in which concentrated poverty became more prevalent between 1990 and the year 2000. The only other city is Detroit. So it makes sense to employ and to start policies, commence policies that employ local residents on city-sponsored public works projects. Putting people to work is one of the most basic ways that we can alleviate poverty, and partner with the building trades assures that we will be providing a career path for those people that we bring in. And with that, unless there are questions or comments, I ask for an aye vote so we can proceed in this process.
Thank you very much, Ms. Perry. Mr. Parks.
Thank you, Mr. President. I just want to commend Ms. Perry on this because I think you see a little bit more of it being a part of Expo Line and beginning to see what the real dilemma is in getting people to follow direction as relates to local hire, and not only local hire, but also not just the labor hire, but also the professional classes. And I think my first couple of years on Expo, you lost sight of the fact that we didn't have a contract administrator out beating the bushes to make sure this stuff was happening, and it kind of fell through the cracks. And I think the fact that we're looking, and this is probably a question asked throughout the day as travel through the district, every job that people see construction on, they want to know who's working on it, is it local people, who's in the community benefiting, those kinds of things. And often you go back and do some checking and you find out that crews come from a variety of locations, often not in the local community. So the only way to nail this down, and it gets well beyond best effort, is to nail it down and be a part of the original process to where it's an ordinance and that people can be aware if they're going to accept work from the city, they're going to hire people in this fashion. And so I want to just stand, and certainly it's taken a long time, but like most things that we get involved with, if it's not 7 or 8 years, it's not really that important. But we certainly are looking forward to this. I think we had a little bite of the apple when we implemented the CRA plan, but this is a much broader and gives us more access throughout the city as it relates to how the city is going to spend its funds.
Thank you. We have public comment cards on this, starting with Matt Dowd. Is Mr. Dowd here? John Walsh is our next speaker then?
Thank you, Mr. Perry. LA and Detroit lead in poverty density. Way to go. I'm not surprised. The CAO and the CLA haven't even completed their financial analysis of the report. But the most important thing is that the city attorney get on this immediately. I'm speaking as a member of a new group called Trutanich's True Believers. We want him on this immediately. We are tired of personal attacks on Trutanich. We're tired of Laura Chick calling him a liar because he's too interested. We're tired of right-wingers like Douglas McIntyre attacking attacking him in the Daily News. We want him
Mr.
on...
President, this is nowhere near the agenda description on item 39.
I'm sorry, sir. I think this is the communication from the chair of the Jobs, Business Growth, and Tax Reform Committee on the public infrastructure.
We want to interrupt us. They took 1 minute. Thank you. You ought to be ashamed of yourselves.
Thank you for everybody for complying with making sure we're speaking on the comments that are before us. David Keish is our next speaker. After that is Richard Slauson.
Good morning, David Kirsch, here with the Carpenters Contractors Cooperation Committee. We're here in support of the motion and the goals behind the use of a citywide PLA, including the ability to maximize local hire opportunities, train local youth, and generate good-paying jobs and rewarding careers. But just one point, any final agreement between the City of Los Angeles and the building and construction unions must take into consideration that the Southwest Regional Council of Carpenters is not affiliated with the Los Angeles Orange County Building and Construction Trades, and that the building trades does not negotiate nor represent on behalf of the carpenters. On any given construction project, 30 to 40% of the work is performed by workers represented by the Carpenters Union. Many thousands of our members live within the city, and the Bureau of Contract Administration data tracking local hire on existing projects shows that our contractors are leading the way. The Regional Council and its 65,000 members and 2,000 signatory contractors wish to continue to participate fully in the effort. However, there's an issue of equity and fairness that needs to be addressed, and this is in regards to jurisdictional disputes. And in that regard, we are proposing is for the city to look at the recently signed agreement, in fact last night, with the San Diego Unified School District, which takes into consideration this issue, and it's provided a fair and neutral mechanism to resolve these types of problems. We offer what we believe is a reasonable and workable solution. Under our proposal, there will be no work disruptions caused by jurisdictional disputes, and all parties can work together to build this great city. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Kirsch. Richard Slauson is our next speaker. After that is Zuma Dog.
Good afternoon, Mr. President and council members. My name is Richard Slauson. I'm the Executive Secretary of the Los Angeles and Orange Counties Building and Construction Trades Council, representing 140,000 craftsmen and women working throughout the two-county area. I'm here to support this motion for an ordinance to provide for the negotiation of a project labor agreement, local hire. We have worked with the city and many other public agencies in Los Angeles County to put these kinds of programs together, and every one of them has been a 100% success. We have put thousands of local residents to work under these agreements with the City of Los Angeles, with the school district, the community college district, and other public agencies, and they work. The government, contractors, labor work together to make sure that these work, and opportunities have been abundant for new apprentices coming into careers in the construction industry through these types of programs. I'm very happy that Councilwoman Perry and Councilwoman Parks, Councilman Parks, Councilman Smith have been working to bring this to the City Council, and we're very happy that it is ready to move forward. I want to comment on the position that the carpenters take. First of all, I'm sorry that this kind of an issue was brought up between the City Council and the public. This is something that is taken care of in project labor agreements. The carpenters have always been given an opportunity with all of the other crafts, the electricians, the plumbers, the iron workers, the operating engineers, plasters, cement masons, painters, all of the trades that belong to the construction industry. And we have given the carpenters the opportunity to sign every agreement and participate with every one. Instead, they bring these kind of proposals back in front of public agencies to attempt to disrupt what has worked so well in this area. Thank you very much, and we hope to put together an agreement that will work for everyone, and everyone will have the opportunity to sign it. Thank you.
Thank you. Zuma Dog is our next speaker. See here? If not, that will close our speaker queue. Is there anybody else from the council who wishes to be heard? If not, let's go ahead and prepare the roll and tabulate the vote.
11 ayes.
That is approved. Was that an ordinance? Or no?
No, that's the proposal for an
To prepare
ordinance.
the ordinance, okay. So that will move forward. Thank you. If we can take the next items called special, please.
Next item, Mr. President, is item number 6, and that was called special for cards, and I believe the card has been withdrawn on that
It
item.
has been. So we will close the public hearing on 6. And if we can prepare the roll, please tabulate the vote.
11 eyes.
That is approved. Next item, please.
Number 18, called special by Councilmember Wisar.
Mr. Wisar, number 18.
Thank you, Mr. President. And colleagues, I just want to bring to your attention and to the public's attention an item that was brought forward to our neighborhood councils and education committee. This is a report that was put together by myself and then Council President Alex Padilla to look at the governance of LAUSD and to examine if there are better ways of governing the school district. What resulted was real community participation overseen by a number of appointed people to examine not only the governance, but the final report that came out was perhaps one of the most comprehensive examinations of the school district. It had a number of great recommendations. Now, the commitment that we made was to ensure that that we implemented these recommendations and not have a report just collect dust on the shelves. We did our part on the city side. As you recall, we put on the ballot a charter amendment, Charter Amendment L, which did 3 things. Number 1 was, for the first time, implement some ethics rules at the school district when it came to campaigns, because prior to that, there was no body that oversaw the elections in terms of having campaign contribution limits, reporting requirements, and other items like that that any other public agency would have in place. Secondly, what we did is to implement a recommendation to have term limits. I know that term limits are not as popular with some, but what this did is establish 3 4-year terms for school board members. So now a school board member would have 12 total years that they can serve. And finally, there was an examination of what the salaries of school board members should be. Because the commission that was set up to examine this issue did not come to a conclusion, Measure L called for a body to be established to examine the salaries of school board members every so many years. The committee met about 2 years ago. They recommended a doubling of their salary. Should the board member elect to get that doubling of their salary, they wouldn't have no outside employment. Otherwise, they would continue to have the existing salary, which is $24,000 a year. Those were some of the changes that were made through the ballot initiative after the report recommended these. That's what we could do on our city end. There were a number of recommendations that is up to the school district to implement. From what I understand, the district has been reluctant to put in writing what and the progress they have had in terms of implementing these recommendations. So although we have recommended to note and file this report, I would ask that if we could have the CLA continue communication with the school district to have a written report back to the city council in terms of the progress that has or has not been made with the multitude of recommendations that were made in that report. At the end of the day, when it comes to raising student achievement, which is the focus of our school district, a lot of this has to do with quality of the teachers, how large classroom sizes are, the individual attention that we give to each and every student. However, looking at how the school district is governed can create the environment by which those good policies, those issues that we know raise student achievement, how we create that environment has a lot to do with the governing structure there. We would hope that the school district cooperates and works with the CLA to give us a report on where they are with the implementations of these recommendations. Thank you very much, Mr. President.
Thank you very much, Mr. Rizar. Any other members wishing to be heard on this item? If not, let's go ahead and prepare the roll and tabulate the vote.
11 eyes.
That is approved. And thank you, Mr. Rizar, for your past and present work on that. If we can go to the next, actually, if we can continue item 20, Mr. Alacon has asked us to continue that for one day. Without objection, we'll continue that till the 31st. Next item called special, please.
Next item is item 30, and that was called special for cards.
Okay, item number 30, and we have cards Arnold Sachs, if you'd like to come forward on this one. And after that is Michael Hunt.
Very simple. Communication from the Bureau of Street Lighting and Ordinance Intention, first consideration relative to establishing a hearing date for the maintenance of Jefferson Boulevard and Bay Street Lighting District. Don't have to go online to find that location. Don't have to go online to find the location of Sweetser Avenue and Clinton Street Reballot Lighting District. Don't have to go online for the Brokaw Place Carlton Way Lighting District. Don't have to go online for the McCormick Street and Vineland Avenue Lighting District. Don't have to go online for the 10th and Crocker Streets Lighting District. Don't have to go online for the Pierce Street and Dronefield Avenue Lighting District. But do have to go online for the Midfield Expo Light Rail Construction Lighting District. Why is that so? Why can't you be more direct with what the district is and put it on the agenda like these other districts? It would really be helpful to the public. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Sachs. And Mr. Hunt does not seem to be here. We'll close the public comment on that. If we can please prepare the roll and tabulate the vote.
11 ayes.
I'll go over 1 week to a second reading as an ordinance. Next item, please.
Next item is item 32, and that was called special for cards.
Okay. Mr. Zuma Dog, Mr. Matt Dowd, Mr. Michael Hunt seem to have all left, so we'll close the public hearing. If you can please prepare the roll and tabulate the vote.
11 ayes.
That is approved. Next item called special, please.
Item 33, called special for cards.
Okay. Mr. Sachs, item number 33. And Mr. Hunt and Mr. Dowd are not here still, so we'll be the only speaker on number 33.
Again, another item with the DWP. The update, please, on a DWP program for the solar initiative that was so soundly trounced by the voters. Where is movement? Where is some kind of update? Where is some kind of reporting for this solar paneling, the program that involved LAWA and DWP? Why isn't the council moving on this? This is 4 months now. It's very tiring, I know. Should take a nap. But we're looking for some answers. You're going to raise rates again. Where is some movement by the council to request an update from DWP? Thank you.
Thank you. That will close the public comment on item 33. If no members wish to be heard, let's go ahead and prepare the roll, and please tabulate the vote.
11 ayes.
Thank you. That is approved. Next item called special, please.
Item 38, called special by Councilmember Hahn.
Okay. Ms. Hahn, we do have cards on this as well. Would you like to hear those first? It's just, I think, Mr. Dowd who is left, so we'll close the public hearing on that and recognize Ms. Hahn.
Thank you. Colleagues, I just wanted to highlight this today because it really is a positive step in the right direction for creating our long-awaited Wilmington waterfront and providing access to the water to that community where, which is the heart of the harbor, which is where the Port of Los Angeles really was born over 100 years ago. But, you know, lots of times I talk about the San Pedro waterfront, but this council also approved and has seen the concept to have a waterfront in Wilmington. There has been one sticking point, one obstacle that has been in our way for a long time, and it's been DWP-owned tanks, which Valero, the refinery there, has been leasing from DWP, and I've been actually working on this since I got elected 8 years ago. And today, we finally have an agreement that will allow Valero to move their tanks to an adjacent facility, which they will also be leasing from DWP. and in exchange, DWP will now be allowed to begin to remove these tanks and provide that last open kind of parcel to complete our Wilmington waterfront. So it's a win-win. It's been a long time coming. There's been some serious negotiations. I remember when Ron Deaton was our CLA, Ron was working on it, and then when Ron became the general manager of DWP, he was also working on it, and I know David Nahai has also been on his plate since he's been there to work out some kind of agreement that does work for everybody. And this is going to be the new agreement will generate about $59 million in revenue for DWP, helping to fund our green energy technology and to promote LA's green path into the future. So while this lease helps to fund this green path into future, the removal of these tanks will help to make way for the beautiful path to the future of the waterfront in Wilmington. I know you're all going to support this and vote yes on this. Just a couple questions I was going to ask. The question always is, who cleans up this property, since I'm sure there's going to be some remediation cleanup done. So who's responsible for that?
Thank you, Councilmember
Hold
Craig
my
Little, LA Department of Water and Power. The Department of Water and Power will be responsible for the cleanup of the marine tank farm site. So the Department of Water and Power will take responsibility for cleaning it up and making sure that it's in a proper state when it's then acquired by the Harbor Department.
Now, does the Harbor Department now acquire this property now, or do they wait for the cleanup? What's going on?
We've had some discussions with the Harbor Department. The timing is such that we got the impression they didn't need it immediately. Valero will be out of there by 2011. We are prepared to transfer the property if the Harbor Department desires so as soon as this lease takes effect. Valero would continue to be there until 2011, but we could go ahead and transfer the property before then if the Harbor Department would like to proceed.
Does the transfer of the property need to take place to create this waterfront?
That appears to be the Harbor Department's preference, is that they actually have jurisdiction over the property. It still remains in the name of the City of LA, of course, but it would just be under their jurisdiction.
So under this agreement, I'm assuming that they couldn't vacate any sooner than 2011, or is that just...
That's correct. That's the timing, because Valero will need to completely relocate their facilities to the other facility, which is Olympic Tank Farm, just to the north, as you mentioned.
Right. That was a little disappointing to me to hear they weren't going to vacate till 2011. After all this time, we still have 2 more years for those tanks to be there.
It'll go by quick.
It'll go by quickly. Yeah, the last 8 years has gone by quickly. Well, I just want to thank everyone, DWP. I want to thank Valero for working on this agreement, and I really want to thank the community of Wilmington, particularly all those who have been involved in the planning and visioning for their waterfront, for their patience and understanding as we have worked to remove this last remaining obstacle to creating a dream waterfront for that community. So thanks, everyone. Colleagues, this is a win-win for everybody, for DWP, for Valero, I think, ultimately, but most importantly for the community of Wilmington, who have waited a long time to see this pathway to their waterfront. So I urge your aye vote on this matter.
Thank you, Mr. Cardenas.
Did you push a button?
I thought you said correct.
Mr. Cardenas.
Oh, I'm looking at you, you're looking at me. Thank you, Mr. President.
You're just buttoning up there.
All right. Thank you. We had this in the Energy and Environment Committee, of which Councilmember Perry chairs, and we asked a few questions, and it was very enlightening, and we finally got the full picture of what's been going on. I just wanted to remind everybody that it's been about 8 years or so you've been working on this, but this is not an easy task. We're talking about some very complicated property. We're talking about a big operation, important operation for the basin, moving from one spot to another. We're talking about the Department of Water and Power, which is a big entity in and of itself, having to understand and cooperate, and then also the port having to understand and cooperate the needs and responsibilities of the Department of Water and Power. So I just wanted to make sure that it's not lost on everybody that it seems like a simple matter, but it's really a complicated matter, and it really took a lot of work and a lot of energy energy and a lot of sticking to it on behalf of Janice Hahn leading the way and all the players involved. And I just wanted to make sure that people understood that this is another example of good government trying to finally make something happen that is much more complicated than it looks like on the surface. So congratulations for finally getting that done, but it wasn't easy. It wasn't easy.
Thank you. If there's no other members, let's go ahead and prepare the roll and tabulate the vote.
11 ayes.
That is approved. Next item called special, please.
Item 40, call special, 4 cards.
Okay, item 40, we have Dr. Clyde Williams. Then we have Mr. John Walsh to follow.
Dr. Clyde Williams, 4115 Barrett Road, El Sereno, Northeast LA. Why the interest in this? Because this is one of the largest examples of stormwater detention and proposed infiltration. The mitigated negative declaration does not consider the fact that the infiltration galleries will be placed upon compacted fill. Compacted fill does not make very good infiltration for stormwater. Therefore, if it doesn't work, it will saturate the compacted fill and lead to maybe some instability. It's also a liquefaction area. No geotechnical reports were provided to demonstrate that it would work with compacted fill. No groundwater monitoring, modeling, or assessments were done. And there's no mitigation for potential liquefaction of the compacted fill. I would suggest that you send it back, ask them to redo it properly, and also consider the secondary impacts of liquefaction increase for their next-door neighbor across the street called the Autry National Center. Thank you.
Mr. John Walsh.
This is $14 million in bonds, Highlands.org, HollywoodHighlands.org for more information. It's $14 million in bonds, for, as the previous speaker talked about, to shore up the Los Angeles Zoo's parking lot disaster. Wait till there's an earthquake. Now, as we all know, there is a curse on the zoo. There are more dead animals. It's not just the elephant's burial ground. It's just recently the giraffe's burial ground. And when you got up here to talk about your friends who passed away, I didn't see anybody here get up and talk about the adult giraffe that died recently at the zoo. No one seems to care about that. I'd just like to finish by saying that the person who types this out for the hearing impaired does a fantastic job. I don't know if there's one or two of them. You're doing a great job. Thank you.
Thank you very much. There are no speakers in the queue. So, Madam Clerk, if you would please open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
10 ayes.
Next item.
Next item is 46. That was called special by Councilmember Zion, and I believe there are cards as well.
Yes, you're correct. Mr. Zion, would you like the speakers to go first? We have 2 cards on that item. Karen Bonadio and Matt Dowd.
Good afternoon. Anyway, I was here in early June, and what's happening today tells me that you all were listening to what I had asked, and that was to support the 2 bills that are out now, which is H.R. 2393 and Senate Bill 1026. These 2 bills would ensure that our overseas military would have their votes counted in a matter of days and not the current 3 weeks. In the 2008 presidential election, I don't know how many of you know this or anyone out watching at home or on the internet knows that 1 in 4 of our overseas military never had their votes counted. It's really important to me. I come from a military family. My parents were both in the Marine Corps. My father, a colonel, served in the Korean War. My sister was too. I was the only one that wasn't, so I don't know how that happened, but I just want to say that it's important, and I don't think that anyone in this room or anyone watching today, and I'm talking about our military, our veterans, Senator Cornyn and his staff who are watching now and have been, Congressman McCarthy and his staff who are watching now, Senator McCain and his staff who are watching now, and I want to give a shout out to him because he's a hero to me and I love him to no end, and also Senator Schumer, who has spoken out on this as well. I want to thank them all, and I hope you're still out there, Washington crowd. I hope you're watching, and the military and veterans that I Twittered last night till like midnight. So I'm just asking you to support these two bills. It's important. We don't have to have family members or people that we know. We get it. These brave young men and women who serve for our freedom anywhere in the world, they deserve a right to have a say in their government. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mr. Matthew Dowd. All right, Mr. Dowd does not appear to be present in the chamber. Mr. Zine.
Thank you, Madam President. On this matter, the CLA recommendation is to adopt this. As has been stated, the House federal legislation at 2393 and Senate 1029 would provide for our military personnel the opportunity in federal elections to get those ballots counted. And what's happened in the past, there's been delays in getting those ballots to the jurisdictions, so their votes have not been counted. And we are a democracy. We always talk about how we want to be transparent in our democracy. So I think this bill is advantageous to support our military and help them and their ability to vote for the candidates that they wish to vote for in those elections. So if it's a city election with a federal oversight, then it would be counted. For example, what's going to happen in the 2nd District, that would not be part of this. It would be an election that has the federal positions, and it would be nice to have them for all elections, but it's going to be hopefully passed and will impact all the military personnel worldwide where their votes will count. They'll be able to participate in democracy. And as has been stated, 5.5% of eligible overseas voters participated in 2006 election. That's a very small number. So the federal government, the military, would help get the message out, and the ballots, they would collect the ballots and deliver those before the polls close. So they would change the process so our military personnel who are overseas and here in the States will all be able to participate in the local elections as long as there's a federal measure on that particular ballot. So we request approval of this particular motion to support what our folks in Washington are doing. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Zine. Mr. Cardenas.
I just want to say it sounds like a small matter, but if you're overseas and you want to participate in this great democracy, you should have the opportunity to do so, especially when it comes to people in the military. If anybody should have the right to exercise that responsibility, it's them. So wherever they are, I think they have the right to do so. Hopefully we'll see these bills passed or combined and passed at the federal level, and we'll see those rights enhanced so that they can participate as they're supposed to.
Thank you, Mr. Cardenas. Mr. Smith.
Thank you, members. As a veteran of the United States Air Force, a proud veteran, I remember when I got out of the Air Force in 1971, I worked on the project to write the 26th Amendment to the United States Constitution, which says the right of a citizen of the United States who are 18 years or older to vote shall not be denied or abridged by the United States or any state on account of age. When we passed that law, as a member of the team that went around the country speaking on behalf of that, I remember very clearly the first and biggest argument we had was, if you're old enough to die for this country, you ought to have a say in who runs this country. And to deny that right to those people who are out there serving in our military today is wrong. It goes against the Constitution that we fought so hard to change years ago. And I can tell you, as a father of a son who has served 14 months in the Iraqi theater, who is now home, thank God, I can't think of anything worse than to say to him, you don't have the right to have your vote counted. And so I'm very pleased to support this and ask that you do so.
Thank you very much, Mr. Smith. There's no further speakers in the queue. Madam Clerk, would you please open the roll? Close the roll. Tabulate the vote.
10 ayes.
Next item.
Next item is 47, and that was called special for cards.
Dr. Clyde Williams. Following Dr. Williams will be John Walsh, and then Arnold Sachs after John Walsh.
Good afternoon. Dr. Clyde Williams, 4115 Barrett Road, El Sereno. Not much money involved today. However, Have these accounts ever been audited? That is, event sponsor to reimburse the city for all fees and costs incurred. During our current situation with finances, I would highly recommend that an audit be done in order to ensure that all of the projects, all of the special events, all of the significant events have been properly reimbursed to the city. Today, you only have $1,400 roughly involved. However, on Friday, you're going to have $50,000. It seems like a lot of piecemealing. There doesn't seem to be a process to manage the finances. Thank you.
John Walsh. Mr. Sachs follows John Walsh.
Point of order. In the chamber right now, there are only Mr. Zine, Ms. Perry, Mr. Cardenas, that's 3, Mr. Koretz, and Mr. Parks. There are
Please
only
hold
5
Mr. Walsh's
people
time.
here
Mr.
now.
Walsh, we have a quorum of 10 people. Please
5 are
proceed and
sitting here,
restart
they're
his
not-
clock.
You calling me a liar? Count them up.
We have a quorum of 10 people. Please restart his
They're
clock.
they're not here. I just want to point out that when you wear a Klan outfit, they stop the meeting. There are only 5 people here. Everyone can see it. And you can call me a liar all you want. I'm telling you right now, and as far as this agenda item is concerned, I think the Oban Japanese group does an excellent job. One of them just, Cardenas left, he came back, we're back down to 5. If you can see more than 5 people, I will apologize for you if you can produce Mr. Garcetti or the others that are gone, not here. The rules mean nothing. The rules are what they want to
Stop
make
Mr. Walsh's clock. Mr. Walsh, I have to urge you to stay on topic. Thank you very much, Mr. Sachs. It's your turn. And after Mr. Sachs is Mr. Zumadog.
Thank you. It's a special event, I guess, when you decide to end the meeting for lack of quorum by walking out. But when people just walk out, it's okay.
He's off topic again.
It's a special event we're talking about, and this has got to be a special event that you can maintain this meeting without having full count.
Stop the clock for Mr. Sachs. Mr. Sachs, City Attorney has given us an admonition, and I urge you to please stay on topic.
I'm discussing a special event.
The special event is the Obon Festival, so again, I'm going to urge you to stay on topic. Thank you.
Well, there's got to be a special event when you can walk out and maintain a meeting. I mean,
He should be admonished that he's violating the rules of decorum for extended discussion of irrelevancies.
So, Mr. Sachs, would you like to stay on topic or not?
I would like to stay. I am on topic. I'm trying to stay on topic. I keep being interrupted. Rules of decorum, a meeting is a special event. You maintain certain rules, and I'm just trying to find out how you describe the special event.
Stop the clock. The topic before us is the Obon Festival. If you do not wish to discuss that...
I'm sorry, there's other festivals listed here as special events. There's a Primetime Emmy Award. There's a Creative Arts Emmy. It's not just the Obama Festival.
Go ahead and start his clock.
So if you have other festivals listed, then maintaining a quorum should be part of the necessity to discuss the special events. If you're not maintaining a quorum, then you shouldn't be able to discuss the special events.
Thank you very much, Mr. Sachs. All right, our final speaker today will be Mr. Zumadog. Mr. Zumadog, he doesn't appear to be present in the chamber, so we will open the roll on that item, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
10 ayes.
Next item.
The next item, Madam President, is item 57, and that was called special by Councilmember Hahn.
Ms. Hahn. Item 57.
What? What do you want?
Did Ms. Hahn call item 57 special?
Yes,
I believe Mr. Garcetti called it.
Thank you. Colleagues, actually, I would like to send this back to the committee, Public Safety Committee, to the committee. Oh, it's never been there. So to the committee.
Thank you.
Okay, here's what I would like. I'm still concerned about this modified plan, as I expressed yesterday. I'm very concerned about the safety of our firefighters. I'm very concerned about the safety of the public. But it really looked like yesterday, after we got more information, that it does not look like we can find this $52 million at this time to fill the budget hole in the fire department. And this is the department's answer to that on how they want to deal with that. What I would like I would hope that budget, maybe both of the committees look at this. I would hope budget, we could still look hard to see if we can find some more money so that we can be fully staffed in the fire department. But what I was thinking, what I would like for public safety is to get a complete update, breakdown on exactly how this modified plan will look station by station, neighborhood by neighborhood, on any given day, week, month, so that we're better able to be prepared to talk to our constituents on the staffing level of a particular fire station in their neighborhood. I just don't feel like I got that yesterday, and so if there was a way to have that back to committee to look at it a little bit deeper so that we know exactly the impacts. I mean, to me it sounds, bad, but I think if it goes back to the Public Safety Committee and maybe Budget and Finance can look at a way to try to find that money somewhere else. But I was thinking public safety should probably be given regular updates on how this plan is going to affect the various stations in the various communities in the city of Los Angeles. That was my thinking.
Thank you very much, Ms. Hahn. Mr. Koretz pressed his button before Mr. Parks, and then Mr. Parks.
Yeah, we've requested this kind of analysis at our next public safety meeting, so it would be appropriate for the motion to be there at the same time.
Okay. Mr. Parks.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I would just like to comment that we will be dealing with this issue. We dealt with it partially on Monday. We'll be dealing with this whole budget issue every Monday. Our expectation, as we've given direction to the CAO and CLA, is to bring us a game plan with 2 weeks that would say how we should be moving towards as a city. We also have a plan that the CAO is working on, that operational plans for each department should be forthcoming, that will tell you how the rec and park is going to be impacted, how disabilities, how the fire department, the police department, so you can see firsthand. So each one of those departments have been asked to give us that kind of information. It was delayed a little bit on the contemplation and the speculation about negotiations and things of that nature. So those operational plans, and that's our intent from the beginning, that every council member will get what's viewed as an operational plan, so there's no mistake as to how they deal with the 10%.
All right. Mr. Koretz for a second time, and then Ms. Hahn. Are you passed? All right, Ms. Hahn.
And I think yesterday I was really actually going to even see if we could delay the implementation of this modified plan. But again, what came back from the department, it would just increase the deficit, increase the gap that we can't fill now, so we don't know how we can fill it in the future. But saying all that, but yesterday you said you'll be on top of this modified plan. If it doesn't seem like in certain areas it's making sense or isn't working, that you'll modify the modified plan. And I think that's what I just want to make sure that the city council is in the loop on that. Each council member is aware of how it impacts the particular stations and services that we know are so vital to the people of Los Angeles. The residents, tourists, summer vacationers, all rely on our police officers and our firefighters, and it is something that we are most proud of. One of the best fire departments in the country, one of the best police departments in the country, and Los Angeles is seen as having two great departments. So I just want to make sure, particularly as we enter into the tough summer months, that if this doesn't seem to be working, I think we would all agree that we'll find a way, to modify the modified plan. Okay.
Mr. Cardenas.
Question to the department, fire department. Despite this modified plan that we're discussing at this time, despite that modified plan, even the regular plan for the department, is the department staffed at an optimum level, at an idealistic level as it is before this?
Madam President, council members, Councilmember Cardenas, yes, it is at this time appropriately staffed for the level of service that we want to provide to the citizens of Los Angeles, our regional response partnerships and needs for the Southern California region. So the department has, and through your support, the mayor's office support, has gone through several years of tremendous buildup of both fire and emergency medical service capabilities. And as you well know, both are more homeland security type of efforts in urban search and rescue and other types of services we provide. So we're very proud to say that the fire department has never been at a more ready state than it is today. And so that's why, as we all know, having to do these types of cuts is so hard for us all.
Yes, but what I'm trying to get at is, even though the legislative body, the mayor, the department, everybody has been working really hard and have been enhancing both equipment, personnel, professionalism, all those kinds of things over the years, most recently, we're fortunate to do that. And the department has benefited from that. Even at that, if we were to somehow miraculously find $100 million more to infuse into the fire department, could we buy more equipment? Could we get more state-of-the-art stuff? Could we get more personnel? Could we send more firefighters to school so that every single one of them get more and more enhancements, et cetera? So there's always the potential for improvement, regardless of where we're at, correct?
Absolutely. One of the things that we are facing and we continue to face is the healthcare crisis. And as we all know, that even though we have put as many EMS resources, additional ambulances, paramedics on almost every resource we have, we still know that we're facing a county-wide, and which we also know is a national crisis. And yes, we can and definitely need additional resources to meet those ever-growing challenges that we face, as you just indicated.
Thank you. And the reason why I wanted to point that out is because I don't want people to misunderstand that the cuts that we are forced to make and the burden that you are forced to deal with these cuts, it's not as though budgeting isn't always a part of the dynamic, because budgeting and limited resources are always part of the dynamic, year in and year out. Because if it wasn't, we would have many more emergency response teams of every kind within your department, but we don't. So I just wanted to make the point that what we're going through right now, unfortunately, is a paradigm shift compared to what we've been doing for the last few years, which has just been figuring out ways to get more enhancements, to find more money, passing bonds, all these kinds of things we've been fortunate to be able to do. But it's never been the case that budget hasn't been an issue that you've had to contend with and that we've had to contend with. Unfortunately, we just happen to be dealing with a budget contention that has to do with a reduction, unfortunately, instead of an enhancement as we've had over the years. Thank you.
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there any action proposed today?
Yes, Mr. President, to refer this to Public Safety and Budget and Finance.
Okay. There's no objection. We'll go ahead and refer those to both of the committees. Thank you. That leaves us one item, which is closed session item.
Yes, and I believe there's a card on it as well.
Yes, there was. Item 56. We have a number of cards, starting with John Walsh. And then we have Mr. Dog, I think, has gone, but Mr. Sachs will follow.
HollywoodHighlands.org for the next chapter in Quorum Gate. You have Zine here. You have 7 people here. The blue board says that Weezer is here. Where is he? The blue board says that Smith is here. He's not here. Reyes is not here. why isn't this meeting being adjourned? Because
Mr. President,
you don't give
he
it
is
an
not talking about this agenda item.
Mr. Walsh, if you could
I
please...
can't talk about an agenda item when you should be adjourning the meeting.
Sir, if you could please talk about the item that is before us. Thank you.
.org. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Walsh. Arnold Sachs is our next speaker. And you have 1 minute left, sir.
I echo the same points, but I also would like to know why you have the Play Investment Groups. I understand this is a suit involving mitigation with methane gas. When is the lawsuit for the farmers market area, the Grove area? It's methane mitigation. Why is there no methane mitigation at the Grove area? Why, when methane gas came up through the city streets 20 years ago, they built the Grove, no methane gas mitigation? Why methane gas at the Playa Vista? Why the discrepancy? But I understand you can't discuss it because you don't have a quorum. And what are the rules for that? You have rules of decorum, but no rules for decorum.
Thank you. That will... Thank you for the poetry, and that will close our public comment on this. We will now go in accordance with California state law to closed session, discuss this item that is before us. If we can please clear the council chambers, and we will come back into open session for any of the items that are here before us. Thank you. We're back in open session. Mr. City Attorney, would you like to make an announcement?
Yes, Mr. President. On item number 56, the City Council has agreed to rehear Playa Investment Group's application for a tentative tract map at a notice public hearing.
Okay, thank you. We got the next order of business, please.
Council has motions for posting and referral.
Those are posted and referred.
And there is an excuse on the desk. Councilman Perry requests to be excused September 29th, 30th, October 6th, 7th, and 9th, and those are for city business. They meet council policy.
All right, she's excused.
And that clears the desk.
Any announcements, colleagues? Do we have any adjourning motions today? All right, if I can please ask everybody to rise for adjourning motions. And we'll begin with Ms. Hahn.
Thank you, colleagues. We've been hearing, unfortunately, of some tragic deaths associated with the high surf that's been on our beaches recently. Unfortunately, I'd like us to adjourn today in the memory of Dexter Lima, who drowned in the large surf near Manhattan Beach on Sunday. And he was only 17 years old, and he was a student at Narbonne High School, where he was a team captain on the volleyball team and was well loved by his teammate, his coaches. Many people said he had such a great sunny disposition and positive outlook on life. At the end of last season, Dexter earned the team's best hitter and most aggressive awards. Dexter wore the number 5 jersey because of its significance to his Samoan heritage. Lima means 5 in Samoan. Dexter had planned to continue playing volleyball through college, but had not yet decided where he wanted to attend. He is survived by his mother, Elaine, his sister, Renee, his brother, Reese, along with his father, who lives in Samoa. He will be deeply missed by everyone. Very sad. A young life, everything ahead of him that was taken way too early. But again, these high waves and the surf has been very tragic for a couple of other people. People need to be very careful with these high surf on our beaches. But very sad. We will miss Dexter.
Thank you, Ms. Hahn. Mr. Weezer?
Thank you, Mr. President. And colleagues, I ask that we adjourn today in memory of William Bill Anton, the first Latino superintendent of schools in Los Angeles, who died Tuesday at the age of 85. Friends remember him as a genial and strategic fighter who looked out for all children and also minority children at a time when the school system did not always have high expectations for them. Anton began his career as a teacher at Rowan Elementary in East Los Angeles, slowly and steadily winning the respect of colleagues as he earned promotions to higher positions. Anton filled a groundbreaking role in developing the district's Title I program, which was at the time a new experimental effort to help low-income and minority students. A Garfield High School graduate who supervised schools in East Los Angeles, Anton championed equity and fair distribution of resources for all students, but he was liked in all communities and those he particularly worked in. Anton became school chief in July of 1980, and he was immediately confronted with union unrest and budget deficits. He remained the superintendent and retired at the age of 68 in 1992. He said his greatest accomplishment was holding the district together in spite of a fiscal crisis that forced spending cuts of more than $1 billion in his tenure. Anton is survived by his wife, Donalyn, and several children. Services are scheduled for next week, and I ask that we adjourn in his memory today, someone who gave of his life to help our children and someone who was really supportive of making sure that all children had an opportunity to succeed in school, irrespective of what their color was, irrespective of where in the district they grew up.
Thank you, Mr. Weezer. Mr. Parks?
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd ask we adjourn in memory of Crystal Rogers, who died Saturday, July 18th. She was born September 1955. She attended local schools in the city of Los Angeles, the Mother of Sorrow Grade School, St. Michael's High School, and then graduated from Locke High School. She attended college and attained 2 degrees, one in fashion, the other in nursing. She enjoyed and loved the arts. You may remember her constant appearance on one of the local television shows, Don Cornelius Soul Train, where she routinely danced with the late Freddie Berry, who was a.k.a. Rerun, who was in a number of series in local television. She passed away. She had no children, but she basically took her time and helped raise both of her, many of her nephews and nieces. Her funeral services are pending.
Thank you, Mr. Parks. Ms. Berry.
President, I want to adjourn in memory of Helen Gibson, who passed away on Saturday, July the 25th. She worked in the Chief Legislative Analyst's office from 1983 to 1984, and again from 1995 to 1996. And for much of that time, she handled council office budgets and related fiscal matters. She is survived by her sister Carol Green and 2 nephews, and I'd ask that all members go on that. I'd also like to adjourn in memory of Mrs. Larner White. And this is amazing. She was born on September the 6th, 1908, in Marshall, Texas, in Harrison County. Mrs. White enjoyed a life spanning 100 years, and she passed away July 18th, 2009. She is survived by Mrs. Luberta Franklin of Fort Worth, Texas.
Thank you. Mr. Smith.
Thank you. Mr. President, I ask that we adjourn in memory of Cecilia or Seal Padel, as she was known. She is the mother of Arlene Alpert, who is the wife of the president of the DWP Commission, Lee Alpert, former airport commissioner, former planning commissioner. I know Arlene very well, and I talked to her about her mother for years. She suffered from Alzheimer and passed away Tuesday morning. And I know we all send our respects to the Alpert family, and may Cecilia Padel rest in peace now.
Thank you. We'll put all members on that, too. Thank you, Madam Clerk. If you please call the roll. We'll next be in session this Friday, colleagues. That will be the 31st.